Chapter 920. No, I reject. As far as she knew, although Qin Wenjing looked easy to get along with, he actually had a line in his heart. He had always kept a certain distance from others and was not so easy to get along with. Not to mention looking so enthusiastic. Looking at the way he spoke to Xiao Qingyuan, she felt that Xiao Qingyuan was the cold and distant person. Qin Wenzhang's impression in her mind was somehow changed, making her find it unbelievable. Gu Yundong thought about it. How did they meet? She remembered, Qin Wenjing seems to like to eat wild animals. Brother Xiao brought Lu Wei into the mountains to hunt 2 roe deers and gave them to him. That's probably it. Lu Wei also came early in the morning, but he liked fun. The moment he arrived, he brought the children out to play. Madame Dai was enlightened. So that was the case. She had heard from her son that Xiao Qingyuan often went deep into the mountains and even brought him in to hunt, so it was not strange. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue, who had yet to speak, were shocked when they heard their conversation. Auntie, is the Mr. Qin you're talking about the one outside the door? The 18-year-old top scholar? Yes, that's him. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other and silently looked at Qin Wenjing, who was speaking at the door, and sucked in a cold breath. Alive. This was Qin Wenjing in the flesh. Today, at this moment, at Gu Yundong's house, at Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony, they actually saw the 18-year-old young genius. Excitement, thrill, and an uncontrollable urge to go forward. Bao Lingyue grabbed Nie Shuang's hand tightly and said, "If I tell Big Brother that Qin Wenjing is still alive, he will definitely be very happy." Oh my God, I actually saw Qin Wenjing. I grew up listening to his stories. My brother must be especially envious of me. I have to go to him and tell him about it. Me too, me too. I feel like I'm dreaming now. What should I do? I want to go up and talk to him, but isn't this too presumptuous? I don't think so. She has a wife and a daughter. Let's not ruin their relationship. Yes, yes, yes. That was his wife and daughter just now. His wife is also good-looking. They're simply a match made in heaven. And his daughter is too cute. Gu Yundong was speechless. Were women so good at chasing celebrities nowadays? She felt that the two of them were about to faint. Seeing how excited the two of them were, Gu Yundong finally understood why the two of them could become good friends. Indeed, they were like-minded. Oh right, there was also her father. He seemed to admire Qin Wenjing very much. That guy is a sinister and cunning fellow. Don't be deceived by his appearance. Gu Yundong complained in her heart. If not for the fact that she had to maintain her makeup that was done at the cost being dragged out of bed early in the morning, she really wanted to rush up and shake the two of them awake. However, very quickly, this fire of excitement consumed her. Nie Shuang grabbed her hand. Sister Yundong, we're good friends, right? That Mr. Qin is your fiancé's good friend, right? Then can you invite him, beg him to write a piece of calligraphy for me? And me. And me. Gu Yundong's expression was cold. Beg him? No, I reject. Seeing that she was unwilling, Madame Dai thought about Qin Wenzhang's personality and was unwilling to make things difficult for her. Hence, she gave the two of them a look. All right, have you forgotten what day it is today? It's almost time. Don't delay, Yundong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 921, Coming-of-Age Ceremony. Although Nie Shuang and the others were a little disappointed, they still knew the severity of the matter and quickly shut up. Only then did Madame Dai say in a low voice, "If you really want to meet him, why don't you ask Mrs. Qin? Didn't you see her just now?" Nie Shuang said uncomfortably, "Well, it's not good, right? After all, we're not familiar with Mrs. Qin." Bao Lingyue, who was standing at the side, nodded crazily. Although she was a friendly person, Mrs. Qin was Mr. Qin's wife. She felt that this was too abrupt. What if Mrs. Chen misunderstood them and thought that they had other intentions, and it would backfire? Madame Dai was speechless. Just as she was about to say something, Madame Gu entered. Behind her were Gu Yunke and Chen Anning. The two young girls held hands and had lollipops in their hands. They ran happily to Gu Yundong. Wow, big sis, you're really good looking today. You're the best. Gu Yundong pinched her little face. You guys look good too. Sister Yundong, Aunt Ku said that it's time and asked us to inform you. Madame Dai stood up and said, that's right, that's right. It's time to go out. Nye Shuang, Lingyue, don't just stand here. The coming-of-age ceremony has begun. Everyone quickly got up and went to their positions. When it was time, Gu Dajiang coughed lightly and said nervously, today, my daughter, Gu Yundong, will hold her coming-of-age ceremony. Thank you for coming. Now, my daughter, Gu Yundong, will officially begin her coming-of-age ceremony. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a lump in his throat. His daughter had really grown up. He thought back to when she was just born. Because of an accident, she was born prematurely and almost couldn't be saved. He didn't expect her to grow up in the blink of an eye. Gu Dajiang couldn't help but secretly exhale. Soon, Lan Huar walked forward, washed her hands, and took her place on the west step. Then, Gu Yundong walked out and faced the south. She bowed to the guests and knelt on the witness seat. Then, Madame Dai got up and washed her hands. Dong Xiulan presented her with a handkerchief and a hairpin. Madame Dai walked to Gu Yundong and recited a congratulatory speech. Then, she combed Gu Yundong's hair and put the hairpin on it. After that, the ritual repeated 3 times. After the entire process, even Gu Yundong felt extremely tired. Aunt Ku was the one who arranged the coming-of-age ceremony. If it was a farmer's family, there would not be so many rules. But Aunt Ku felt that Gu Yundong's future would be limitless and she would soar into the sky. Naturally, her coming-of-age ceremony had to be grand. Be it Gu Dajiang or eldest Aunt Gu, they both agreed with this. For a woman, her coming-of-age ceremony was a very important day. If the conditions allowed, she naturally could not treat it casually. After the ceremony, Gu Yundong finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she sent the guests off with Gu Dajiang and Madame Yang. When most of them had left, she returned to her room. After resting for a while, she changed into a simple dress again. Just as she was about to go out, a few familiar voices came from outside. She focused slightly and quickly distinguished the voices. This was Nye Shuang and Bao Lingyue talking. However, the two of them only passed by Gu Yundong's room and quickly left. Hearing them mention Qin Wenjing again, Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Could it be that they were really going to ask Qin Wenjing for his calligraphy? She couldn't help but laugh. Go for it, fangirls. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 922, Don't do such a demeaning thing. However, while the fangirls were excited and their eyes were filled with desire, they did not dare to go forward and talk to Qin Wenjing, let alone ask him for calligraphy or paintings. The two of them could only hide in a corner and look in Qin Wenshang's direction, muttering softly. When Lu Wei came over, he happened to see them putting their heads against each other, looking sneaky. Could these two people be plotting something? Were they trying to do something bad during Gu Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony? Lu Wei recalled the last time he went to the Wang family's banquet with his elder sister. Those women had put on a big show that made him gasp in amazement. He completely understood what it meant to scheme. His sister had told him that these women from the big families fought all day long and liked to make a fuss on such big days. Wasn't today Gu Yundong's big day? These two women said that they were Gu Yundong's friends, but he knew that Gu Yundong had never invited them. They had come uninvited. Lu Wei's expression instantly became serious. He quietly leaned toward them and listened. Then, he heard their nervous and suppressed voices. Master Qin is indeed a talented man. No wonder the late emperor wanted him to be a royal prince. Ah, I want to ask him for a piece of calligraphy. Really, I only want one. I have no regrets in this life. I don't dare to go forward. I don't dare either. It's not easy for me to meet him in person. Why can't I take a step forward? Lu Wei understood and immediately came to a realization. He knew that Qin Wenjing was very popular, especially among women. It was said that when he was the top scholar and rode on a horse to travel the streets, more than half of the women in the capital had thrown flower handkerchiefs and pouches at him. They could even smash Qin Wenjing until his entire body was covered in bags. Unexpectedly, other than the capital, he even described as divine in cities where he had never been seen, making the women even crazier. The two people in front of him were. You want Qin Wenzheng's collection? Lu Wei's sudden voice caused Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue to be stunned for a moment before they turned their heads around. Nie Shuang naturally knew Lu Wei. The last time Gu Yundong's shop opened for business, Lu Wei drank a large cup of pearl milk tea and left a deep impression on her. Later on, they met twice in the prefecture capital's Jinxiu restaurant. Now that she heard this question, she immediately remembered. Previously, Sister Yundong had said that Qin Wenjing and Xiao Qingyuan knew each other. It seemed to be this young Master Lu who pulled the strings. In that case, Lu Wei was also very familiar with Mr. Qin. Nie Shuang quickly said, "Can you help us get to?" "Sure, just you wait." Lu Wei was very generous and agreed immediately. The two of them looked at him gratefully. Lu Wei tidied his hair and immediately walked towards Qin Wenjing. However, not long after, he returned with a dejected expression. "Didn't it work?" Nie Shuang asked. Lu Wei nodded and sighed. "Brother Qin is not willing." Sigh, Bao Lingyue was very disappointed. Nie Shuang, on the other hand, looked at Lu Wei in surprise. She didn't expect this young master of the Lu family to admit it so straightforwardly. Didn't men usually care about their face? Why didn't he make up for it at this time? Bao Lingyue suddenly thought of something and quickly said, "Isn't young Master Xiao familiar with Lord Qin? You are also familiar with young Master Xiao. Why don't you ask young Master Xiao for help?" Lu Wei looked up and glanced at her. Xiao Qingyuan wouldn't do such a demeaning thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 923, Sister Yundong, be Euphemistic. Bao Lingyue, Nie Shuang, are you scolding us or yourself? But soon, Lu Wei's eyes lit up. Yes, we can look for Gu Yundong. She must have a way. Nie Shuang said, "We've thought about it too, but today is Sister Yundong's coming-of-age ceremony. We can't trouble her. She's been busy for the entire day and is resting in her room." "How is she resting? Isn't she there?" Lu Wei pointed behind them. Nie Shuang turned around and saw Gu Yundong walking over. She seemed to be in good spirits. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue looked at each other and hurried forward. They grabbed Gu Yundong's arms from both sides. "Sister Yundong," Gu Yundong shuddered. "Speak properly." "Calm, Sister Yundong, we want Mr. Qin's calligraphy and paintings." "Sister Yundong, go and look for Master Xiao. He will definitely listen to you and help, okay?" Gu Yundong was really afraid of them. All right. I'll go." She pulled her hand out forcefully, returned to her room, and came out with a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Then, she walked towards Qin Wenjing. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue were stunned and quickly said, "Sister Yundong, young Master Xiao is over there." Gu Yundong nodded. "I know, but didn't you want Qin Wenzheng's calligraphy?" But, Gu Yundong quickened her pace and arrived in front of Qin Wenjing in a few strides. "Master Qin, give me 2 pieces of calligraphy." Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue, aren't you being too direct? Be tactful. What if Mr. Qin gets angry? Qin Wenjing glanced at the brush and paper in her hand and snorted. Nie Shuang and Qin Shuang no longer held any hope. As expected, Mr. Qin was unhappy. You still have the cheek to ask for my calligraphy? You should calculate how much you gave away yesterday. Your brother alone took 4 of my paintings, not to mention the other students. My entire study's calligraphy and paintings were ruined by you. If I wasn't magnanimous, would have cut ties with you. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue. What did they hear? Gu Yundong resisted the urge to roll her eyes. He was magnanimous. He was clearly the one who schemed against her and did not dare to retaliate. Now, he was talking as if he was very noble. How shameless. It was as if she really cared about his calligraphy. Just as she was thinking, Madame Guest's voice came from the other side. Husband, aren't we leaving? Qin Wenjing quickly replied, well, leave immediately. Wait for me for a moment. With that, he took the tray from Gu Yundong's hand and turned to walk to the table at the side. Then, he muttered as he wrote, on account that today is your coming-of-age ceremony, I won't argue with you. Then, he wrote down 2 lines of words, all of which were blessings for the good and healthy. After he finished writing, he blew on it and handed it to Gu Yundong. Take it. I'll go back first today. After taking a few steps, he stopped and turned around. By the way, I heard from your father that he plans to take the elementary scholar examination after the new year. It'll help you solve the problem of the elementary scholar endorsement. However, it's not convenient to eat and drink in the examination hall. When you have time, think about how to make something delicious for your father. Gu Yundong nodded. Thank you. Qin Wenjing left. Gu Yundong turned around with 2 pieces of calligraphy in her hand and met the dumbfounded expressions of Nie Shuang and the others. You guys, what's wrong? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 924. She lost. Nie Shuang swallowed his saliva and looked at Gu Yundong, then at the calligraphy in her hand. Then, she turned to look at the door. Qin Wenzheng's carriage was getting further and further away. Bao Lingyu's eyes were wide open as well. Even Madame Dai, who was standing at the side, had a look of astonishment on her face. She had heard what Qin Wenjing and Gu Yundong said just now and felt that it was unreal. Even when facing her master, Qin Wenjing was polite and steady. But when facing Gu Yundong, it was as if his composure did not exist at all. Be it his tone or expression, there was a hint of indulgence. It was as if she was his younger sister. He should take care of her and try his best to satisfy any requests. After a long time, Nie Shuang asked, Sister Yundong, are you very familiar with that Lord Qin? This familiarity was not like what they had guessed. It was not based on Shao Qingyuan, the middleman. Gu Yundong nodded naturally and asked, will he come to my coming-of-age ceremony if he's not familiar with me? Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue both covered their faces. That's right, that's right. How could they have overlooked this? Come, if he only had a good relationship with Shao Qingyuan, even if Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were engaged, Qin Wenjing would not have had to come personally to attend the coming-of-age ceremony. At most, he would have asked his wife, Madame Gu, to bring their daughter over. Only when he had dealings with Gu Yundong himself would he be so prudent to bring his family to her door. He did not leave immediately after the coming-of-age ceremony. Moreover, what did Mr. Qin say before he left? He said that she didn't have to worry about Gu Dajiang's exam. It was just that, this was a little different from what Nie Shuang and the others had imagined. They had clearly heard that Qin Wenjing was a rather cold and arrogant person, but they could not tell it all just now. That wasn't right either. When he rejected Lu Wei, he was very clean and cold. Gu Yundong did not know what they were thinking. If she could hear them, she would definitely despise them. Qin Wenjing? Arrogant? What did that have to do with anything? Nie Shuang felt a little regretful. If she had known that Gu Yundong and Qin Wenjing were so familiar, she would have taken the opportunity to say a few words to Qin Wenjing. At least her idol would know her. Bao Lingyue was still a little puzzled. Yundong, since you and Lord Qin are friends, then why did you two speak as if you were very resentful just now? Speaking of this, Gu Yundong started to hold a grudge. Because he just tricked me yesterday. Let me tell you, Qin Wenjing is indeed quite good-looking, but we can't judge people by their appearance. Some people are very. Before she could finish speaking, Nie Shuang suddenly exclaimed, "He tricked you? Sister Yundong, you're already so smart, but Mr. Qin actually tricked you." As expected, a genius is indeed a genius. A man like Mr. Qin, who is not only handsome but also talented, is really rare in the world. That's right. He can trick Yundong. His brain is indeed very useful. Gu Yundong was speechless. Was that the main point? Was that it? Isn't your fan filter too strong? She wanted to say that Qin Wenjing was sinister and cunning. You two ignorant girls, don't be deceived by his appearance. In the end, you actually interpret sinister and cunning as talented and meticulous? She was the one who had lost. Goodbye. Gu Yundong stuffed the 2 pieces of calligraphy into their arms and returned to her room. She didn't want to talk. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 925, Visit After the Coming-of-Age Ceremony. Gu Yundong felt much more relaxed. Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue finally calmed down after being excited for a long time with Qin Wenjing's calligraphy. They did not plan to leave yet and asked Gu Yundong to bring them around the village. They would rest for 2 days before returning to the prefectural city. It was the same for Madame Dai. It was rare for her to come out, and it was quite quiet in this countryside. For the past 2 days, she felt refreshed, especially when it came to what she wanted to eat. She could go to the backyard to pick it herself. This feeling of doing it personally made them feel exceptionally novel. As for Gu Dajiang, he didn't dare to slack off at all because he had to take the preparation scholar exam in February. Although he was confident and Qin Wenjing said that there was no problem, he was still crazily absorbing all kinds of knowledge. Therefore, he still had to return to the prefecture capital's Tianhai Academy. On the other hand, Madame Yang and Kiki stayed behind. It would be the new year in a month or so. There was no need to travel back and forth on such cold days. Gu Dajiang would have felt sorry for them. Therefore, on the morning of the 2nd day of the coming-of-age ceremony, only Gu Dajiang, who was going to continue studying at Tianhai Academy, and Gu Dafeng, who was going back to take care of Bianhan, left the Gu family. Come after the 2 of them left, Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue held Gu Yundong's hand, wanting her to show them around. It was rare for them to come here, so Gu Yundong naturally had to play the role of a host. She brought them around the village. Actually, the villages were similar. However, because the lives of the people in Yongfu village were getting better and better, many houses had been renovated and looked much newer. As such, the village richer than the other villages. However, this road, after Nie Shuang almost sprained her ankle for the 2nd time, she finally could not help but sigh. This road is a little bad. If only it was as flat as the road in the prefecture capital. She had almost stepped on dog excrement just now. Gu Yundong lowered her eyes and looked at the uneven road. She seemed to be in deep thought. Then, she brought the 3 of them to the workshop to take a look. Nie Shuang was very excited. Your workshop is interesting. It's actually divided into several areas. It's simple and clear. It looks clean. Gu Yundong was not worried that they would learn it after a rough tour. The method of jam and preserved fruits was not a secret. Many people knew it. Her shop's business was good because of the different ingredient. At least for now, no shop sold products made of white sugar like hers. However, Gu Yundong did not bring them to the area where the white sugar was produced. She only let them take a look at the finished product. However, Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue were still extremely excited to see so much white sugar at once. Their eyes lit up and they almost pounced on it. Of course, they also had white sugar at home, but there was very little of it, unlike here, where there were piles of it. After visiting the workshop, the 3 of them were very satisfied. After staying in Yongfu village for 2 days, Nie Shuang and Bao Lingyue even wanted to enter the mountains, but were firmly rejected by Gu Yundong. What mountain? They could sprain their ankles just by walking along the village road, yet they dared to enter the mountains? She was probably going to carry them back. Nye Shuang pouted. I've climbed mountains before. Mountains with steps, right? Gu Yundong glanced at her. Nye Shuang was very disappointed that her wish was not fulfilled. However, she had already stayed here for a few days. It was indeed time to go back. The next morning, the three of them packed their bags and left Yongfu village happily with a lot of stuff that Gu Yundong had given them. Gu Yundong sent them to the village entrance. When she returned, she looked up and saw a messenger pigeon flying over her head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 926, Rejected, Not Going a Messenger Pigeon. Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows and followed the messenger pigeon. As expected, it stopped outside Shao Qingyuan's courtyard. She walked in directly. The messenger pigeon was indeed standing outside the courtyard. Mao was feeding it with the millet. When he saw Gu Yundong enter, he immediately greeted her. Miss, are you here to look for young master? Young master is in the study. Yes, I'll go in and take a look. Gu Yundong reached out to touch the messenger pigeon before continuing inside. Shao Qingyuan had indeed just opened a letter from the pigeon's leg. There was a large number of words written in the letter. Most of them were praise for him, while the other half conveyed a message: let him go to the capital. This pigeon belonged to Dr. Song Dejiang. Shao Qingyuan had never met Dr. Song, but they knew each other's existence. Gu Yundong had seen that Shao Qingyuan was talented in medicine and had a photographic memory of the medical book that Dr. Song had given him. He developed a good medicine for internal injuries according to the medical book. After other medicines were successful, Gu Yundong wrote a letter to Song Dejiang and asked him to send several medical books. Later on, Shao Qingyuan opened his own pharmacy. He directly contacted Song Dejiang about medicine. After a while, the two of them became familiar with each other. Gradually, Song Dejiang admired Shao Qingyuan even more. This messenger pigeon was the way the two of them communicated. Recently, Shao Qingyuan had been researching on the cowpox vaccination method to deal with smallpox. He had not told Song Dejiang about this before because Yundong had racked her brains to think of a way to make a contribution to the emperor. Before he succeeded, he had to keep it a secret. However, after they reported this matter to Qin Wenjing a few days ago, the latter quickly sent the letter to the capital. Since the emperor knew, Song Dejiang naturally knew too. As a result, he immediately sent a pigeon to ask Shao Qingyuan to make a trip to the capital where the two of them would discuss the cowpox vaccination method in detail. However, after Shao Qingyuan finished reading the letter, he frowned. After a pause, he took a brush and paper from the side with a cold expression and wrote a single word on it: no. Just as he finished writing, Gu Yundong came in. When she saw such a huge word on the paper, she was stunned for a moment and asked, "What's wrong?" Shao Qingyuan didn't hide it from her. Song Dejiang asked me to go to the capital, but I rejected him. It would be the new year in a month or so. He was not willing to go to the capital at this time. It was so cold that he could not even make it back for the new year. After saying that, he folded the paper and compressed it into a small roll. Then, he asked Mao to bring the messenger pigeon in and stuffed the roll into the small bamboo tube tied to the messenger pigeon's leg. The paper was too big and it took some effort to stuff in. Gu Yundong silently turned her head. "Brother Shao, you only wrote a single word." Actually, there was no need to use such a large piece of paper. Really? When Song Dejiang received such a thick scroll later, he would think that you had a lot to say. When he opened it and read it, he would definitely jump in anger. After stuffing the paper in, Shao Qingyuan let go. Mao was about to go out when there was a sudden sound outside. The three people in the study turned around and saw another messenger pigeon on the windowsill, jumping. There was also a small bamboo tube tied to its leg. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other. "This is still Dr. Song's messenger pigeon, right?" Yeah. Mao quickly carried the messenger pigeon over and took out the note from the bamboo tube. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 927, Advice. Xiao Qingyuan frowned. As expected, it was from Song Dejiang. As if he knew that Xiao Qingyuan would reject his previous letter, he went straight to the point. Kid, the cowpox vaccination method is very important. It concerns the lives of the people in the world. You have to come to the capital. Even if you reject me now, someone will definitely come to invite you personally in a few days. I'll wait for you here. Don't worry, a house has been prepared. You'll have a place to stay the moment you come. Xiao Qingyuan frowned tightly. Indeed, one after another. He should have known that once the cowpox vaccination method reached the capital, he would not be able to stay out of it. Yundong dragged Qin Wenjing out and whipped him again in her heart. If he had told them earlier that Xiao Qingyuan was not the third young master of the Tao family, they would not have revealed the cowpox vaccination method at this time. Perhaps when things became clearer, or when they had some ideas, they would send a pigeon to Song Dejiang and give him a headache. Both of them knew that Xiao Qingyuan's trip to the capital was inevitable. Yundong was reluctant. When are you leaving? Xiao Qingyuan was even more unhappy. Then let's wait for someone to invite us before leaving. Yundong nodded. The two of them originally thought that this would take at least a few days. They did not expect that the next afternoon, Qin Wenjing would bring 2 guests to the Xiao family. Looking at the travel-worn appearance of the two of them, he knew that they must have rushed over. It seemed that the current emperor really valued this important discovery. That made sense. If it was confirmed that the cowpox vaccination method could prevent smallpox, it would be a political achievement for him. In the future, it would probably be a very heavy mark in history. Moreover, for the civilians and the royal family, smallpox was fatal. No one could do anything to it. Since ancient times, many royal princes had died from smallpox. Therefore, the emperor was very anxious. Not to mention that it was not the new year yet. Even on the first day of the new year, Xiao Qingyuan had to make a trip to the capital. Yundong had no choice but to prepare Xiao Qingyuan's luggage. Yundong did not know how long this trip would take. For a moment, she wanted to go with them. The atmosphere between the two of them was a little silent. Qin Wenjing couldn't help but touch his nose and say softly, "Don't worry, it definitely won't be long." Although it's a long way to the capital, hasn't Xiao Qingyuan already succeeded? As long as he explains what he knows clearly, those imperial physicians will be busy with the rest. Yundong could not help but glare at him again. Then, she turned around and continued packing Xiao Qingyuan's things. She prepared a lot of food for him and reminded him worriedly, "When you're outside, don't eat anything random, especially those hard and stiff steamed buns. Don't eat them. It's not good for your stomach. Even in the wild, you should at least heat them with fire and eat them when they're hot." Xiao Qingyuan looked at her back and felt like his wife was helping him pack his things when he was going out. Hearing her voice, even his heart felt warm. "Also, you have to be careful. Bring your bow, arrow, and dagger with you. Didn't you get some poison and knockout powder? Remember to keep it well. If you encounter someone with good martial arts, fight if you can. If you can't, use the poison. If the poison doesn't work, escape quickly. In short, your life is most important." Qin Wenjing couldn't stand it anymore. They were only going to the capital, not to participate in the martial arts conference. Shaking his head, he quickly left. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 928, Let's Get Married. As soon as Qin Wenjing left, Xiao Qingyuan went forward and hugged Yundong from behind. "Don't worry, I'll take good care of myself. You too. Wait for me at home. If you encounter anything that you can't resolve, look for Qin Wenjing. I'll take care of myself and come back as soon as possible. Also, the capital is big and has many good things. I'll also ask around to see if there's any news of Bai Muzi. Gu Yundong lowered her head slightly and hummed. There are many high-ranking officials and nobles in the capital, and the waters are very deep. I wonder if anyone will find trouble with you. However, Qin Wenjing will definitely make arrangements for this. You don't talk much, but you still have to build a good relationship with the two people who escort you along the way. Ask more about the situation in the capital. You have to know what to do. Xiao Qingyuan's eyes lit up. He enjoyed her nagging. In the past, he really didn't talk much and almost didn't interact with anyone. Now, he had changed. He had someone he cared about and he had opened a shop. As long as he was willing, basic socializing weren't difficult for him. Also, Gu Yundong suddenly became fierce as she spoke. I heard that the women in the capital are very bold. When they meet a good-looking man, they can't help but give him a pouch or a handkerchief. There are also those who are shrewish and snatch others. You have to protect yourself, understand? You're not allowed to flirt with anyone. Qin Wenjing was an example. How popular was he back then? It was said that he even had a few bumps because of the pouches that were thrown at him. In her heart, Xiao Qingyuan was much more handsome than Qin Wenjing and was very eye-catching. Xiao Qingyuan turned her around, held her face, and kissed her heavily. His eyes were filled with smiles. Okay. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and could not help but laugh. By the time he was done packing, Xiao Qingyuan had 2 big bags. He did not know what Gu Yundong had stuffed into them, but they were bulging. One could tell that it was a lot. Gu Yundong thought that it was too little. It was a pity that he did not have a spatial storage. Otherwise, she would not have to work so hard. After everything was prepared, the few of them rested in the Shao house for the night. The next morning, Xiao Qingyuan brought A Mao and left with the people from the capital. The Gu and Xing families had woken up early to send him off. Even Kiki was rubbing her eyes in Madame Yang's arms. She waved at Xiao Qingyuan and said in a childish voice, "Brother Xiao, have a safe trip. Kiki will miss you." Xiao Qingyuan nodded and scanned everyone's faces. Finally, his eyes landed on Gu Yundong. "I'll be back as soon as possible." Gu Yundong nodded. Xiao Qingyuan took a deep breath and did not say anything else. He led the horse to the entrance of the village. The rest of the Gu family sent them off at the entrance, but Gu Yundong walked a few more steps and only stopped at the village entrance. Seeing that Xiao Qingyuan was about to mount his horse, she suddenly said, "Wait." Xiao Qingyuan was stunned and came back. "What's wrong?" Gu Yundong looked behind him. Mao was a sensible person. The other 2 also understood and immediately retreated a distance, leaving them alone. However, one of them reminded him, "Young Master Xiao, make it short. We have to set off as soon as possible." Xiao Qingyuan nodded. "Got it." After the 3 of them were far away, Gu Yundong took a deep breath and looked up at him with a smile. "When you come back from the capital, well, get married." Xiao Qingyuan widened his eyes and looked at her in disbelief. What did you just say?" "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 929, Something's Wrong. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and repeated, "When you come back, well, get married." "All right." Xiao Qingyuan's eyes seemed to be emitting light. It was so intense that it almost swallowed Gu Yundong. He reached out and hugged her tightly. "This is what you said. Don't go back on your word." "I'll come back as soon as possible." "Okay, be careful." Mao, who was far away, widened his eyes. "Quickly, split up." It was fine if they were hugging at home, but this was outside, and it was in the village. There were people coming and going at the entrance of the village. You would probably be drowned by saliva. He quickly turned his head to look left and right. Fortunately, other than the 2 guards beside him, no one else passed by. However, the 2 guards were also shocked. Xiao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong quickly separated. He no longer hesitated and suddenly turned around to jump on the horse. "Let's go." Come. After saying that, he shook the reins first and the horse raised its hooves and rushed out. The three people behind him were stunned and hurriedly got on their horses to chase after him. Why was he suddenly so eager to leave? Wasn't he reluctant to leave just now? Gu Yundong was still standing at the entrance of the village, watching the few of them walk further and further away until they completely disappeared. After a long time, there were already villagers walking back and forth around her. They even greeted her. Only then did Gu Yundong move her stiff body and turn to walk into the village. She was still not used to returning to the Gu house. A few days ago, there were still many people at home. Father, eldest aunt, Madame Dai, and the others had all left. Even brother Xiao had gone to the capital. Gu Yundong suddenly felt empty and uncomfortable. Big Black limped out and rubbed against her calf. Gu Yundong reached out and patted its head. "You're quite energetic now. You're wild every day. But you have to stay at home for the next period of time. Brother Xiao has gone to the capital, and no one will bring you into the mountains to play." Big Black wasn't used to coming to Yongfu village at first. Even after its leg was cured, it still looked tired all day. Later, Xiao Qingyuan saw that it had completely recovered, so he led it into the mountain. After returning, it was very excited and wanted to run into the mountains every other day. Xiao Qingyuan didn't have that much time and could only bring it there occasionally. However, Big Black slowly adapted to life in the Gu family. In addition, the Gu family's food was good. Yunshu and Yuanji liked it very much. They would leave a portion of delicious food for it and take it out for a walk at night. Big Black was limping now, but its fur was black and shiny, and its eyes were sharper. It looked very energetic. Big Black seemed to understand Gu Yundong's words. It made a whimpering sound, but no one knew if it was sad or regretful. Gu Yundong smiled and led it into the house. After Xiao Qingyuan left, Gu Yundong was really depressed for 2 days. She felt that something was wrong. In the past, when she wanted to talk to him, it was as if she could see him the moment she turned around. He was almost everywhere. Now, it took her a while to realize that he had gone to the capital. He was probably still on the way, right? Gu Yundong patted her face and did not think about him for the time being. She had her own things to do, which were also important. Early that morning, Gu Yundong put on her clothes and cloak and strode towards the village chief Chen Liang's house. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 930, Buying Land and Building Roads. The weather was cold and there was nothing to do in the fields. Chen Liang did not want to go out either. Now that Niu Dan was going to the county city to study on the Gu family's carriage, there was no need for him to wake up early in the morning to take him to school. This made him feel much more relaxed. When Gu Yundong came in, he was warming himself in front of the brazier and talking to Madame Zhou, who was doing needlework. Hearing the sound, Madame Zhou hurriedly stood up and came out to welcome her. "Yundong, why are you here at this time? Come in quickly. It's cold outside. Come and warm yourself by the fire." Gu Yundong smiled and sat opposite Chen Liang. Madame Zhou poured her a cup of hot tea and she placed it in her palm. "I'm here to see Uncle Chen. I have something to discuss with him." "What is it? Tell me." "I want to buy some land at the foot of our mountain." Uncle Chen was stunned. "Your house isn't big enough?" Gu Yundong smiled. "Of course not. Uncle Chen, you also know that I've found my aunt. Their household registration has already been moved to Yongfu village. It's just that they came late, unlike back then when we could directly be given land. So if we want to build a house, we have to buy some land, right?" Chen Liang nodded. "That's true. There's also my uncle. Although I haven't found him, I want to buy some land first. It'll be convenient for us to be neighbors in the future." "Oh right, Shensidian wants to buy a piece too. The land she wants is next door to the Xing family's house. It's not very big. Shensidian made a few large embroidery pieces and Gu Yundong brought them to the prefectural city to sell. Their price was quite beautiful. Hence, she had some savings now. She had the money to build a house. Gu Yundong was worried about her living alone, but that did not stop her from buying the land first. Liang was speechless. Why did she buy so much in one go? When did the foot of the mountain become so popular? He swallowed and nodded silently. Sure. Gu Yundong looked at him with a smile. Liang acted quickly. In the afternoon, he went to the government office to settle the matter and gave Gu Yundong the title deeds. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 931, Liang is excited currently. There were two paths from the entrance of Yongfu village, but they were not wide. In particular, there was a stretch of road that was especially difficult to travel on. There was a small uphill and it was narrow. At most, it could only allow a carriage or an ox cart to pass. The workshop needed a lot of fruit now. Every time they transported fruits, they had to move carefully. She had learned that the carriages could pass through that road, but if they tied a basket on both sides of the carriage, it would not be able to pass. Moreover, the things in the carriage fell easily. Once they fell, they would be snatched back by the children in the village and dispersed. Every time the fruits were transported back to the village, it was when the children were the happiest. Everyone followed behind and stared eagerly, hoping that the fruits would fall to the ground. There were also villagers who were very dissatisfied with the fact that the Gu family's carriages and carts often passed by their houses. They said that the horses peed on the ground and the stench was overwhelming. Of course, these people did not dare to say it in front of her, but they muttered behind her back, making Father Tong, who often drove the carriage, furious. His horses did not poop or pee in front of other people's houses at all. This was slander. But no one believed him. So even if Gu Yundong wanted to build this road, there was nothing she could do. She could not tear down someone else's house and widen the road, right? Liang also felt that it made sense. He nodded and said, "It's indeed not suitable." If you build the road from the Gu family's workshop to the village, how do you plan to do it? Liang asked. Gu Yundong had considered this and discussed it with Tong Ping and the others. The Gu family's workshop is also at the foot of the mountain. I want to build it straight. However, in this case, we either have to pass through two fields or pass through the He family's backyard. I'm wondering if I can negotiate with the He family. Madame Zhou found it strange. Why didn't you choose those two fields? Gu Yundong did not say anything. Liang glanced at her and said, think about who owns those two plots of land. The Li family. That's right. Compared to the Li family, who had a grudge against Shao Qingyuan, the He family was naturally the more suitable choice. Most importantly, the He family was poor. Their house was quite dilapidated, and there were not many fruits and vegetables planted in the courtyard. If she were to offer appropriate compensation, the other party might agree. As far as Madame Zhou knew, the He family was still relatively easy to talk to. If a road was built at their door, it would be extremely convenient for their family. Liang took a sip of tea and nodded after a moment of silence. All right, I'll talk to the He family. Although you said that the road is built for the convenience of the Gu family's workshop, it's also a great kindness to the village. It's beneficial to Yongfu village. The village has to come up with some rules. When this road was built, it would be convenient for the Gu family. However, the days in Yongfu village were getting better and better. In the future, there would definitely be more and more families with carriages and ox carts. Even Liang had been thinking of buying a mule cart some time ago. If he bought it later, he would definitely have to take the main road to make it convenient. Liang was very excited as he thought about it. Constructing a road? Yongfu village was about to have its own road. When he was the village chief, he was really too excited to be able to facilitate such a big event for the village. How about this? In the afternoon, I'll discuss with Sixth grandfather and the others to see how to deal with this matter. You come too, and everyone will come up with ideas. Also, building the road is a huge matter. After we've discussed it, I still have to go to town and talk to the mayor. Gu Yundong nodded. Of course. You can't just build a road so rashly. Liang paused and suddenly remembered that she had bought several foundations yesterday. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 932, You Cunning Girl. The way Liang looked at Gu Yundong changed instantly. He pointed at her. Alright, you cunning girl. Gu Yundong looked innocent. What's wrong with me? I didn't do anything. She smiled and stood up. Then I'll have to trouble Uncle Chen for the rest. I'll go back first. Shall I wait for good news from Uncle Chen? Go, just go. Liang was a little vexed and did not want to see her. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth curled up slightly. She bade farewell to Madame Zhou and turned to leave the village chief's house. As soon as she left, Madame Zhou, who was confused, could not help but ask, "What did you mean just now? Why did you scold her out of the blue?" When did I scold someone? Liang suddenly raised his head and asked in shock. Who did he scold? Why didn't he have any impression of it? Madame Zhou pointed at the door. Didn't you just say that Yundong is very cunning? Isn't she cunning? Liang said. She said that she wanted to build a road for the village today, but she bought a few pieces of foundation yesterday. Madame Zhou looked confused. Liang felt even more vexed and could only explain, think about it. The road she mentioned is built from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village. It's the closest to those foundations. Just wait. When that road is built, if anyone wants to buy a foundation in the future, most of them will choose that area. If more people choose this, won't the price of the foundation increase? Everyone in Yongfu village was living a good life now. As far as he knew, there were a few families who wanted to buy another piece of land to build a house because they had too many people in the house and couldn't expand it in their original location. Madame Zhou understood now and immediately clapped her hands. Io, isn't that so? Husband, let's hurry up and buy a piece of land over there while everyone doesn't know about this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 933, The He family's request. It was a big deal to build roads in the village. Liang was the village chief, but he had to discuss it with the respected elders in the village. Other than the sixth grandfather, there were also a few families with great seniors. Everyone sat down and discussed this matter. When they heard that they were going to build a road for the village, these elders were all excited. There was nothing they did not agree to. Even if there were difficulties, it was fine. He just had to overcome them. The Gu family had already given them so much convenience. They could solve all the other small problems. Everyone reached an agreement without any objections. When Liang came out of the sixth grandfather's house, his face was slightly red. Without delay, he went to the He family's house again. The He family did not have a strong presence in Yongfu village because of their remote position. Although it was not at the foot of the mountain, it was at the edge. There was a large field behind the house, so it was inconvenient to go out. There were a total of 4 members of the He family. He Shanchuan and his wife had a few-year-old son and a mother. He was not in good health. She could only lie in bed for 2/3 of the year, especially when the weather was too hot or cold. She took medicine all year round, so the He family could not save money. Mrs. He could only stay at home to take care of her child and mother-in-law. Then, she would clean up at home, plant some vegetables, and do some embroidery work. Only He Shanchuan was busy with the work in the field. The family was diligent and managed to make ends meet, but they were really poor. When Liang came to explain the situation to the He family was stunned. Was he going to tear down their courtyard? Liang was afraid that they would misunderstand, so he hurriedly said, "Of course, it's not for free. The village will definitely compensate you." You can think about it carefully and see what you need. If it can be done, the village will definitely satisfy you. If it can't, well, think of another way. Liang had discussed with the elders that it was only right for the village to provide the compensation that the He family needed. He Shanchuan's family fell silent. Liang looked at the head of the family and said, "We also know that you can't bear to part with it. It's a pity to tear down this courtyard. However, it's a big matter in the village after all. I also hope that this road can be built. When the time comes, it'll be convenient for your family to go out. Of course, I won't force you. If you're really unwilling, we can expand the field to the side." "I agree." As soon as Liang finished speaking, He Shanchuan looked up. The rest of the He family looked at him in surprise. Liang's face immediately lit up. "You're really willing? Then, what compensation do you want?" "I want a foundation at the foot of the mountain, mister," he said. Liang was speechless. He looked at him strangely. He did not expect the guy to make such a request. "I don't need it to be too big. Just twice as big as this courtyard will be enough." Since it was compensation, this request was not too much. However, Liang was a little curious. "What do you want that foundation for? Your family has money to build a house now?" "No, but I can circle it out and plant some vegetables first. When there's money, I'll build it." Liang thought about it and agreed. "All right, I'll bring you the title deed later." After the He family was done, Liang left. He then went to the Gu house and told Gu Yundong about He Shanchuan's request. Gu Yundong was also a little surprised. She had no impression of the He family or He Shanchuan. If she had not encountered this incident during the road construction and specially asked Tongan, she would not have known that there was such a family in Yongfu village. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 934, The Gu family's benevolence. However, He Shanchuan's request was not too much. Liang had already settled the only difficult matter. Next, he could start building the road. The next day, Liang banged on the gong and drum, gathering everyone in the village to the grain-sunning field. He stood on the steps and faced the curious and confused gazes of the villagers. He coughed lightly and said, "I've gathered everyone here today to announce something." "What's the matter?" "It's so early in the morning. I'm freezing to death." Liang glared at that person and said, "Of course it's a good thing. If you're unwilling, go back and warm yourself up." "I was just joking. Uncle, don't mind me." That person quickly changed his face. When he heard that it was a good thing, he immediately became excited and did not feel cold anymore. He urged him, "What good thing?" "Uncle, quickly tell me." Everyone quickly let him speak. Moreover, they realized that not only was Liang, the village chief, present, but even the sixth grandfather and the other elders were present. This was strange. What kind of good thing was it that even they, who usually did not like to go out, were here? Liang looked around and said loudly, "Our village is going to build a road." "What, build a road?" The audience instantly buzzed and started whispering to each other. Someone could not help but ask, "Village chief, what's going on with this road construction? Is the government doing it for our village? Who's paying?" "That's right. Do we have to send one person to work from each family? Is there any salary?" "I won't go without a salary. We have a lot of work to do." Everyone had different thoughts. In this day and age, when it came to building bridges, roads, and dams, the first thing they thought of was forced labor. The late emperor was muddle-headed and tyrannical. The people who suffered were the commoners. The current county magistrate was not bad, but the previous county magistrate was not a good person. Many people in their village died from exhaustion during forced labor. Therefore, everyone was very resistant to building roads. Liang saw that the villagers' thoughts were all crooked and hurriedly said, "Everyone, calm down first. This road is not ordered by the government. It's the Gu family's benevolence. They paid to build a road for our village. The grain-sunning field was indeed silent. Everyone looked at Gu Yundong, who was standing not far from the village chief, in disbelief. The Gu family was going to pay for it? Everyone's eyes lit up. Since the Gu family was paying, it was definitely not forced labor. Wasn't that a good thing? Someone asked anxiously, Gu girl, how do we build this road? Can we build it at our door? Let me tell you, the road outside our house is full of potholes. When it rains, if we step on it, half of our shoes will sink in. Gu Yundong glanced at that person. Oh, wasn't she the auntie who said that Gu Yundong's carriages passed by their house to poop and pee? You really have the cheek to say that. However, before she could say anything, someone immediately replied, What's there to build at your door? Didn't you hear what the village chief said? We're going to build a wide road. The path in front of your place is so narrow. How can it be considered a road? Unless your house is torn down. Why not? Our family's path can still allow the carriage to pass. The Gu family's girl's carriage often passes by our door. Our family's road is the main road of the village. It has to be done. As she spoke, she became a little smug. Gu girl, since you're so generous and benevolent, why don't you tidy up the outer wall of our house while you're building the road? Liang frowned and regretted what he said just now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 935. No, Unrighteous. Gu Yundong and Chen Liang looked at each other before walking up the stairs. The moment she went up, it was instantly quiet below. Then, everybody heard her clear voice. The road I want to build is indeed a main road. At the very least, it can accommodate 2 carriages to pass through at the same time. Therefore, it won't be fixed on the original road. It will be a new one from the foot of the mountain to the village entrance. Everyone was stunned. A new one? Someone was dissatisfied. The road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village had nothing to do with them. They didn't pass by there when they left the village. Some people quickly realized that the Gu family's house was at the foot of the mountain. Wasn't this convenient for her family? What kind of benevolence was this? Gu Yundong listened to them. On the other hand, Chen Liang's forehead was covered in sweat. Damn it, he had been too full of himself just now. Unintentionally, he had set up a trap. The Gu girl. Gu Yundong, on the other hand, was very calm. She knew Chen Liang's intentions. He wanted her to have a good reputation and increase her prestige. Calm. Gu Yundong appreciated Chen Liang's kindness, but her thoughts were different from Chen Liang's. She did not need such prestige. In fact, such a reputation was a burden to her. Others would think that she had done a good deed and accept it as a matter of course. In the future, they would use other things to kidnap her morally. It was better to make everything clear. In any case, those who were smart would naturally be grateful to her when they experienced the benefits of the main road in the future. Those who wanted to take advantage of you and felt that you had not given them enough benefits would only push their luck and use your benevolence label to restrain you. Once you were a little unbenevolent, it would be wrong. Hence, she made it very clear. Since I'm the one paying to build the road, they'll naturally decide where it will be built. If I pay and work to build the road myself, and someone says that my horse shouldn't take that road and dirty the road, then I'm probably a fool, right? Someone laughed out loud. Many people knew who she was referring to. The woman who had been clamoring just now was furious, but she really did not dare to argue with her in front of Gu Yundong. After all, Gu Yundong's brutal manner of attacking without any explanation was too memorable. Gu Yundong continued, I'm not afraid to make it clear. This road is built to make it more convenient to travel. Of course, I won't stop everyone from walking just because I paid to build the road. If everyone feels that it's more convenient to walk on the main road, then take the main road. If you feel that it's not time-consuming to walk on the small road, then take the small road. It's just an additional road that will make it more convenient for everyone to drive ox carts, donkey carts, and carriages in the future. Someone thought, hey, isn't that so? Our family is planning to buy an ox recently. It will definitely be comfortable to drag the cart on the main road in the future. That's true. In the past, when we were pulling the cart to transport food, we kept bumping obstacles on the village road. It was too strenuous. Then when I go to the foot of the mountain to pick up firewood in the future, won't I be able to carry it directly to the village entrance from the main road? Yundong, is the main road straight? Will it take many turns? Gu Yundong replied with a smile, no, it's just a straight road. That's great. Our family is planning to buy a donkey cart. With the main road, I won't have to worry about my driving skills being bad. The discussion below was turning for the better. Although there were still some voices that made people uncomfortable, Liang still heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Yundong waited for everyone to finish talking before continuing. Next, I need to hire 20 people to build the road. Anyone who is interested can sign up at the village chief's place. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 936, A Letter Hire? That was money. This was the real benefit that could be seen in front of him. Soon, the dissatisfied voices disappeared. Even the auntie who had been against Gu Yundong from the beginning immediately wanted to sign up for her son. She could not wait to ask, how much is the salary for a day? However, Chen Liang also had a temper. She was the one who opposed most just now. Now, she still wanted to work. Dream on. He looked at the villagers and said, everyone, quiet down first. We have to make things here first. It's best if we finish building the road before the new year, so we want young and strong people who are diligent. Those who are too old or too little, don't come and join in the fun. It wasn't the time for farm work, and many people were resting at home. Some people went to town or county to do short-term jobs. However, it was not easy to find short-term jobs, so it was easy to find 20 young men in the village. Not long after, the village chief registered their names and told everyone that the salary for a day was 50 copper coins, no food included. Calm, everyone, work hard. The Gu family isn't the only one who can take this road. Everyone in our village can take it. This is a road built for ourselves, so everyone has to perk up and build this road for me. Do you hear me? I hear you. Don't worry, village chief. We definitely won't be slacking. That's right, that's right. Our village is getting better and better. In the future, there will definitely be more and more ox carts. Everyone can use this road. Seeing that everyone had such an understanding, Chen Liang was relieved. He brought these 20 people to take a look at the positions and choose the leader. Unfortunately, Feng Danning was not around. He was still renovating the houses in the prefectural city. Otherwise, it would be best for him to take the lead. However, there was also an experienced master who was good at building roads. It was the same for him to lead the way. Among these 20 people was He Shanchuan from the He family. There was nothing to do now. He Shanchuan originally wanted to enter the city to find work, but now that there was a job in the village, he did not have to make an extra trip. Gu Yundong did not care much about what happened next. On the road construction matter, Chen Liang was more concerned than her. He kept an eye on it early in the morning every day, as if he was afraid that something would happen. Fortunately, everyone was working hard and did not hesitate at all. Gu Yundong bought a lot of sand and stones and laid them flat on the ground. People wouldn't be afraid of mud on a rainy day. After building a part of the road, she specially let the carriage try it. As expected, it was much faster. After building the road for more than 20 days, it was almost done. At this moment, Gu Yundong received Xiao Qingyuan's letter. This letter was to inform her that he was safe. Xiao Qingyuan said that he had arrived in the capital and met Song Dejiang. The entire journey was safe. He ate and slept well. He remembered her words firmly in his heart without any illness or pain. Gu Yundong wanted to laugh when she read this, but the longing in her heart also spread. He had arrived in the capital so quickly, which meant that he must have been traveling at full speed. After reading the letter, she immediately picked up her brush and replied to him. She recounted what she had done these past few days and also told him about the road construction in the village. In the end, she wished him a happy new year in advance and told him to take care of himself and come back soon. Although they had been separated for a few days, it was quite interesting to have letters. Yundong heaved a sigh of relief and felt much better. A month later, the road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village was finally completed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 937, Envious. Everyone in Yongfu village was overjoyed. No matter what, this was a road that belonged to their Yongfu village and could allow 2 carriages to pass. This road was built before the new year. It was just nice for the relatives who visited after the new year. Everyone was excited. Even the people who had muttered their dissatisfaction on the meeting were very proud, especially when they went to their relatives and friends' houses. Everyone mentioned this road, making the villagers of the other villages jealous. On the day the road was completed, almost the entire village came out to take a walk on this road. However, Liang stopped them. He bought firecrackers and placed them on a long bamboo pole. He got someone to light the primer and personally carried it all the way from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village. On this day, the entire Yongfu village was filled with joy, as if it was the new year in advance. Yundong was also very happy. She took a lot of fruits and snacks for the jumping children to eat. Kamyunka was very bold now. She swayed and actually wanted to follow behind Liang to set off firecrackers. Yundong was so frightened that she hurriedly carried her back. These firecrackers were blind. It would not be good if a child was injured. Many people from the neighboring village came to experience this main road. Even the workshop was suspended for 2 hours. Everyone came out to watch the fun. The main road was built outside their workshop. Wouldn't it be easier to commute in the future? Especially for the workers from other villages, they didn't have to worry about bumping into someone from the corner at night. They felt much safer. The main road was built, and many people were grateful to the Gu family. After all, it was really convenient. Furthermore, they could go to other villages to brag to others. The village chief of the neighboring village was so envious that his eyes turned red. Every time he met Liang, he would be very unhappy when he saw the guy's smug expression. You're just lucky. If the Gu family had settled in our village back then, you would be the one jealous of us now. Liang snorted. Forget it, there was a big road in his village. He would be magnanimous and not argue with such a pitiful person. There were unexpectedly many people walking on this new road. On the 3rd day, Yundong also drove the carriage out of Yongfu village. It was almost the new year, and she planned to go to the county to buy things. Also, now that there were more people in the workshop, she had to buy New Year presents for everyone. The county city was lively again. The streets were filled with joy, and many stalls had already begun to sell couplets. Yundong looked away. There were 3 scholars in her family now. It was easy for them to write couplets. Her father would be back in a few days. It would be the same if he wrote them then. As she thought about it, she decided to buy some red words. Tong Shuitao came out with her. The 2 of them parked the carriage at Gus and shopped. When it was almost noon and their hands were full, they returned to Gus and put the things in the carriage. Yundong clapped her hands. Let's go eat first. Well, continue watching after that. Okay. The 2 of them were about to walk out when Zhuangzi hurriedly said, Boss, you guys rest for a while. I'll go straight to Jinxiu restaurant and bring the food back. There's no need to trouble yourself. Yundong nodded and Zhuangzi left in a hurry. After a while, a few voices suddenly came from the shop outside. Yundong and Tong Shuitao looked at each other. It did not sound like Zhuangzi. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 938, Embezzlement. Yundong lifted the curtain separating the shop and looked out. It was indeed not Zhuangzi's voice. At this moment, in the shop, other than the shop assistant, Chen Jinkai, there were two people standing in front of him. A man and a woman. Oh, and two familiar faces at that. Gu Yundong, who was about to go out, stopped in her tracks and looked at the situation in the shop silently. This man and woman were Chen Yulan and Wu Chong. The last time she heard from Nie Shuang and the others that these two people had appeared at Chen Liang's door, she told Chen Liang about the matter. Chen Liang snorted and said that he would pretend that he didn't know. After that, she didn't hear any news of the two of them going to the Chen family. She didn't expect them to come to Gus. Chen Yulan had a smile on her face. She looked at Chen Jinkai ingratiatingly. Brother. Chen Jinkai frowned. Why are you still here? Updated by NOVG. Ko Wu Chong pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He stood at the side with his hands folded. Only Chen Yulan smiled dryly and said to Chen Jinkai, Brother, have you considered what we talked about last time? Consider? Chen Jinkai sneered. He felt that it was unbelievable. I remember that I rejected you at that time. When did I say that I would consider? Big brother, don't say that. We really have no choice. The Wu family's shop doesn't have much business now. If this continues, it will close soon. The Wu family's shop was a small grocery store in town. It used to have a good business, so the Wu family always acted arrogantly. They looked down on country bumpkins like the Chen family. If Chen Jinkai hadn't been the manager of a workshop in town, he wouldn't have married Chen Yulan. But now, the grocery store's business was getting worse and worse. At the end of the day, it was also very related to the Chen family. Jinyuan town wasn't very big to begin with, and Nyodong matter had caused a storm in the city. Even the families near the grocery store learned about this matter and knew that his mother had slandered Nyodong for stealing. News of this spread like wildfire. Not long after, the grocery store's business plummeted. Many people said that they did not dare to enter the shop to buy things, afraid that they would be slandered as thieves. As it happened, a few days ago, there was another grocery store that opened opposite Wu's. That family was good at doing business. In contrast, almost no one entered the Wu family's shop. During this period of time, the Wu family had been eating their old money. They did not have any income from the shop, and the entire family was very worried. Then, they started to complain to each other. The house was in chaos every day. At this moment, Chen Yulan thought of the Chen family. Brother, please help us. There are no shops in town who sell this kind of white sugar. If we get first place, our business will definitely improve. When the grocery store survives the crisis, we will definitely visit you personally to thank you, okay? Chen Jinkai sneered. Everyone is limited to 5 caddies of white sugar a day at Gus. As long as you take the money, I can sell it to you. Chen Yulan's face stiffened. Brother, are you kidding me? How can 5 caddies be enough? Besides, the white sugar in your shop is too expensive. Can you sell it to us at a cheaper price? 50, 30 caddies a day? I'll buy some delicious food for sister-in-law and nephew later, okay? Chen Jinkai was so angry that he was about to laugh. Okay, my ass. You have a good plan. 15 kilograms a day, and you want it to be cheaper? How are you so capable? Are you asking me to embezzle the goods in the shop? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 939. You will be the shopkeeper. Chen Yulan laughed dryly. Brother, don't say that. We're family. We're just helping each other. Brother, I'm your biological sister. If you don't help me, I really won't be able to live. As she spoke, sadness welled up in her heart. Tears were about to fall. Biological sister? You still have the cheek to say that? Back then, when Nyodong was slandered by your mother-in-law, why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? When my father came to seek an explanation, you still kept slandering Nyodong. Why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? Let me tell you, our families have long-cut ties. Let alone biological siblings, we won't even be strangers in the future. For a moment, Chen Yulan was embarrassed by his scolding. Her face turned pale, and there was a faint anger rising in her. However, when she thought of her current situation, she suppressed it ruthlessly. On the other hand, Wu Chong, who had been silent all this while, snorted coldly and said to Chen Yulan, I knew it was useless to beg him, but you just didn't listen and insisted on coming over to get scolded. Don't you see that he's just a small shop assistant? He's just an errand boy who carries goods. There's a rascal shopkeeper above him. What can he do? What dare he do? Chen Jinkai suddenly looked at him. Yes, you're right. I'm just a little buddy. I can't do anything. So please don't come to my door again in the future. Hurry up and leave. Get lost. Get lost. Don't appear in front of me in the future. With that, he pushed the two of them out. Chen Yulan still wanted to say something, but Chen Jinkai didn't give them a chance at all. His face was full of impatience. However, just as the two of them were about to be pushed out of the door, Zhuangzi returned. Updated by NOVG. Kohi was still holding a food box in his hand. When he saw the three of them, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he frowned and said, Chen Jinkai, what's wrong with you? Who asked you to chase the guests away? Chen Jinkai stopped in his tracks. Even Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Tong Shuetao, who was at the side, whispered, what's wrong with Zhuangzi? Doesn't he know Chen Yulan? He already knows that she's not a good person, yet he's still helping her. Don't tell me he's deliberately finding trouble with Chen Jinkai? Gu Yundong waved her hand. Just watch. Actually, the 3-month trial that she had agreed on with Zhuangzi had been over. However, it was almost the new year. In addition, Lan Huar would be getting married soon, so he might as well wait for another 2 months and go to the prefectural city with Jiang Bao after the new year. Therefore, Zhuangzi was still the shopkeeper of Gus' shop, but he stayed in the backyard most of the time and let Chen Jinkai take charge. But Gu Yundong had a vague feeling that Zhuangzi might have postponed the time because he was addicted to being a shopkeeper. Chen Yulan was a little flustered because of Zhuangzi's arrival. They had actually been standing outside the shop for a long time. After confirming that Zhuangzi was not around, they came in to look for Chen Jinkai. Unexpectedly, Zhuangzi returned at this critical juncture. On the other hand, Wu Chong was a little happy. Anyway, the matter couldn't be done, and Chen Jinkai didn't give them any face at all and wanted to chase them away. Naturally, he was happy to see Zhuangzi reprimanding Chen Jinkai. Therefore, he seemed to have a common enemy and added, that's right. Who gave you the guts to chase the customers out? It's not that I want to say this, but your shop assistant's attitude is a little too bad. Zhuangzi nodded. That's right. What right does a small shop assistant like you have to chase a guest away? If you want to chase someone away, it should be the shopkeeper. After I leave and you become the shopkeeper, it will be your turn to do this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 940, A Warning Beforehand. Gu Yundong, Tong Shuetao, the other 3 people in the shop were speechless. Wu Chong was the first to react. He suddenly looked up at Zhuangzi. You're leaving after the new year? Then, he pointed at Chen Jinkai. He's here to be the shopkeeper? The shop assistant was very different from the shopkeeper. Updated by Of. The entire shop was run by the shopkeeper, and the accounts were also managed by the shopkeeper. When dealing with customers, it was also the shopkeeper, let alone the salary. Wu Chong suddenly looked at Chen Jinkai. Are you going to be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year? Chen Jinkai sneered. This is our shop's business. What does it have to do with you? Hurry up and leave. Didn't I tell you? The shop assistant can't chase the customers away, but I can. Zhuangzi interrupted him and stuffed the food box into his hand. Then, he waved his hands. Go, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll beat you with a broom. Hey, you, Wu Chong was furious. At this moment, Jiang Bao, who was next door, also came over to help. He held 2 large brooms in his hands and threw them to Zhuangzi. After that, the 2 of them swept Chen Yulan and Wu Chong away like they were sweeping trash. Wu Chong was still a little indignant. He still wanted to ask if Chen Jinkai would be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year. If that was the case, wouldn't he have offended him for nothing? Updated by NOVG. For a moment, he regretted it. It was Chen Jinkai's fault for not making things clear. If he had told him earlier, the 2 families would not have fallen out so badly. Chen Yulan was even more vexed. Her eldest cousin was about to become a shopkeeper. Moreover, he was the shopkeeper in the county city. He was much more dignified than the manager of the town. She heard that Gus was now in the prefectural city. In that case, would eldest cousin still be able to go to the prefectural city in the future? The couple had different thoughts, but neither of them could stay and talk. It really hurt when the broom hit them. Coupled with the pointing by the passers-by, the 2 of them quickly buried their heads and ran. Zhuangzi snorted and returned the broom to Jiang Bao before returning to the shop. Chen Jinkai looked at him speechlessly. Why did you tell them that I'm going to be a shopkeeper after the new year? Would they give up? Won't they know if we don't tell them? They'll have to know sooner or later. I might as well tell them now. At least I can give you a hand if they come again. Gu Yundong opened the curtain and walked out. What Zhuangzi said makes some sense. It doesn't matter if you say it earlier or later. Boss. Chen Jinkai was a little ashamed. I caused you trouble. This isn't trouble. Who doesn't have a few annoying relatives? You've already cut ties with them, but they're still shameless enough to come knocking on your door. This can only mean that they're thick-skinned. However, I have to remind you in advance. You have to know this in your heart. If you really can't resist their threats and temptations and harm the interests of Gus, I won't be polite either. When the time comes, not only will you be fired, but I won't even hire your brother either. Although it was a little inhumane to do so, Gu Yundong had to explain the seriousness of the matter to him. As expected, Chen Jinkai immediately put on a serious expression. Don't worry, boss. Not to mention that we have cut ties now, even if we are close, I won't do such a heinous thing. That's good. Gu Yundong believed this. After all, Chen Jinkai had reminded him that someone wanted to harm her mother. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 941, Follow-up. Gu Yundong did not care about this matter anymore. She left it all to Chen Jinkai to it. However, the Wu family was after her shop, so Gu Yundong still paid some attention to this matter. It was said that Chen Yulan and her husband hadn't come to the shop since that day. However, they were secretly asking if Chen Jinkai would become the shopkeeper. Unfortunately, not many people knew about this matter. They could not obtain any substantial information. Hence, they could only ask around if Zhuangzi would go to the prefectural city after the new year. Many people knew about this. After all, many things had to be arranged before Zhuangzi left. After obtaining the exact news, they were no longer in a hurry. They seemed to want to wait until Chen Jinkai became the shopkeeper before persuading him. Updated by Of. However, the Chen family had to be visited. It was said that on the second day of the Lunar New Year, Chen Yulan came to visit with the members of the Wu family. However, Chen Liang did not have a good impression of their family and did not even let them in. However, the Wu family refused to leave, especially Auntie Wu. She cried and repented outside, causing many people to go out to watch the commotion. It would not be a big deal if the villagers saw this. After all, many people knew about the grudge between the two families. However, it was the new year, and many families had relatives and friends as guests. They could not afford to lose face. Therefore, Chen Liang could only invite her in. Once she entered, Auntie Wu apologized sincerely. She apologized to Chen Liang and his wife, to Chen Jinbao and his wife, and even to Niu Dan. One could tell at a glance that she regretted her actions and had turned over a new leaf. In addition, the other members of the Wu family had also humbled themselves. It was the new year, so no one could say anything cold or hard. Moreover, Chen Yulan was the only daughter of Chen Liang's younger brother. Hearing her mention her father when he was alive, Chen Liang could not help but feel a little guilty. Seeing that his parents' attitude had softened, Chen Jinkai was furious. Updated by NOVG. He thought that Chen Yulan and her husband would look for him in the shop. He didn't expect them to have designs on his family. He exposed their purpose on the spot. Chen Yulan denied it, but Chen Liang naturally believed in his son. He immediately stood up and threw out all the things they had brought, and drove the Wu family out, regardless of whether the people outside would laugh at him. The Wu family was embarrassed and was furious with the Chen family. Moreover, Chen Liang's words were very ruthless. He said in front of his relatives and neighbors, "In the future, this family has nothing to do with the Chen family. In the future, if they enter the village, chase them out." It was said that the Wu family had never appeared in Yongfu village again. Of course, this was all in the future. At this moment, Gu Yundong and Tong Shuitao were still resting in the shop. After lunch, they went to the street to buy things again. New clothes for the new year had already been prepared, so there was no need to buy them. Firecrackers and fireworks were still needed, especially fireworks. The children especially liked to watch them. They had already bought the lanterns, paper scissors, and red candles in the morning. They had to prepare melon seeds, peanuts, dried goods, tea, and drinks first. Sweets and fruits were available at home. As for the rice cake, tofu and dumplings, she could slowly make them in the next few days. She could buy and kill the chicken, duck, and fish before the new year. With this in mind, her family's New Year goods were almost ready. Next, it was time to prepare something else. Gu Yundong brought Tong Shuitao into a clothing store. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 942, Annual Party and Lottery. Tong Shuitao found it strange. "Miss, haven't you almost bought everything? Why are we going to the cloth shop? Isn't the workshop going to rest in 2 days? It's time to prepare New Year presents for them." This year, the workshop would stop a few days earlier than last year, so everyone could prepare early for the new year. After all, there were many workers in the workshop this year and they were busy all day. There was enough stock, so it did not matter if they were given a holiday a few days in advance. Tong Shuitao was enlightened. That's right. Last year, Miss also sent a large cart of New Year goods. She had heard that many people in the workshop were looking forward to this day. They were already secretly guessing if she would continue to distribute meat and cloth this year. Updated by Of. Especially the newcomers this year, they were all asking the short-term workers last year. But Mississippi. Tong Shuitao suddenly frowned and said awkwardly, "Will it still be a big piece of pork for each person this year? But it's already afternoon, and there's not much meat at the meat stall. Our workshop has more than 100 people. There's no hurry. I'll get Tong to come over and buy it later. There are more than 100 people. I'm afraid we have to order 2 big fat pigs in advance. Let's buy the things we want for the annual party today." Tong Shuitao was stunned, and confusion flashed across her face. "Annual party? Miss, what is an annual party?" It is the last gathering before the new year. We'll eat together, chat, play games, and so on. Of course, there was also the lucky draw. Gu Yundong was very happy to hold such a New Year celebration to make everyone happy. They had worked hard for an entire year. On the last day, they could relax and then go home happily to celebrate the new year. At this moment, what she wanted to buy was the prize for the lucky draw. Tong Shuitao became excited, and her face turned slightly red. "Miss, you're saying that more than 100 people will be eating and chatting together? How spectacular is that?" Updated by NOVG. Co-spectacular. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Looking at Tong Shuetao's excited expression, she seemed to be looking forward to it. Gu Yundong quickly bought the goods and returned to Yongfu village with Tong Shuetao. Before leaving, she said to Zhuangzi and Chen Jinkai, "You guys close early on the 26th. Go back to the village and let's have a meal together." The two of them were at a loss. A meal? However, the two of them immediately nodded, indicating that they would go back early. On the other hand, Tong Shuetao winked at the two of them before she left, looking mysterious, making the two of them even more confused. The carriage quickly drove into Yongfu village. With the new road, it was much easier for the carriage to travel. There were still many people on the road. The road had been built for a few days, but the villagers still seemed to have not walked enough. They had to pass through this road no matter where they went. It did not matter if they took a long detour. Gu Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry. She did not look at the people outside anymore and hurried home to unload the goods. The next day, the Gu family started making rice cakes. On the third day, in the evening of the 25th, Gu Dajiang brought Gu Dafeng and the others back from the prefectural city. Gu Dajiang was stunned when he saw the new village road. Although Chen Jinbao and the others had already mentioned this when they were delivering the goods to the prefectural city, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. This was his daughter's road. It was his daughter's credit. At that moment, Gu Dajiang's heart surged with indescribable pride. Gu Dafeng was also sitting in the carriage. Looking at the spacious road, she sighed and introduced it to Bian Han excitedly. This road originally didn't exist. When I left last time, this place was still very narrow. There was even a courtyard in front. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 943, The Gu family distributes New Year gifts again. Bian Han felt that his eyes were not enough. One moment, he was staring at the ground, and the next moment, he looked into the distance in the direction Gu Dafeng was pointing. His legs were much better now. Although he couldn't shake them yet, it wasn't to the extent that he couldn't move. It was just that in order to take care of his leg, while it originally only took a day to return from the prefectural city, in the end, it took 2 days. Let me tell you, don't be too surprised when you see the house later. Our Yundong built the house very well. It's especially spacious and beautiful. Whoever sees it will like it. Gu Dafeng whispered into his ear to remind him. After all, the first time she came, she was stunned when she saw the green brick tiled house. Updated by Of. Kobe and Han smiled and nodded. She had told him this many times. Not long after, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the Gu residence. However, even though Bian Han was mentally prepared, he was still stunned when he saw the house in front of him. It was his fault, for not knowing enough. He heard that this house was built after Yundong fled to Yongfu village. This girl was really capable. Seeing his stunned expression, Gu Dafeng sniggered. Then, she got out of the carriage, took the wheelchair from Lu Sheng, and pushed it in front of him. This time, the 4 members of the Lu family also came back. The small courtyard was locked, and Gu Dajiang asked his neighbor to help keep an eye on it. There weren't many valuable items there, and the security there was good. There were many scholars, and there were often people patrolling, so he wasn't too worried. Gu Yundong stood at the door and welcomed them in. Updated by NOVG. Father, are we still going to the academy after the new year? Gu Dajiang shook his head. I'm not going. Just stay at home and prepare for the exam. Teacher also said that it's not a big problem. He told me not to worry too much, nor do I need to travel back and forth. It's a waste of time. If there was really something he didn't understand, he could ask Qin Wenjing. Gu Yundong knew what was going on. Gu Dajiang asked her about the road construction and Xiao Qingyuan. Seeing that he was endless, Gu Dafeng couldn't help but pat him. You just came back. Aren't you tired? Can't you rest well first and talk another day? Gu Dajiang coughed lightly and didn't ask further. Everyone quickly finished eating, washed up, and went to rest. The next day was the 26th, and the workshop had stopped for the day. Early in the morning, Tong went to get meat. There were a lot of people, and each of them had 2 caddies of meat. 2 pigs were barely enough. However, there was still a gathering tonight, and Tong still needed at least half a pig. For a butcher's shop, this was a huge order. They had prepared the pork in advance and even cut it one by one. They guaranteed that every piece of meat weighed 2 caddies, no more, no less. Tong took the meat and bought a lot of vegetables. When they returned to the village, many people saw them. The cart was filled with things, and they could not help but stare. Someone swallowed his saliva. Why did the Gu family suddenly buy so much meat? Are they preparing for the new year? This is too much. Why don't you take a look at how many people there are in the Gu family now? There are more than 10 servants. There's no need for so much, right? You guys are really ignorant. I think this meat must be for the workers in the workshop. What? Then, that person also remembered. Wasn't it almost the new year? Last year, the Gu family was also very generous. Everyone was given a lot of things and happily carried them home for the new year. Envy, jealousy, and hatred. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 944. His daughter is powerful. The news that the Gu family was going to distribute New Year goods quickly spread throughout the village. On the other hand, the people in the workshop were still working hard to do their last day of work this year. Tong's handcart was pulled back to the Gu family. Gu Yundong led the family to tidy up the New Year goods first. The stuff was similar to last year's. It was also pork cloth and sugar, but last year's brown sugar had turned into white sugar. In addition, everyone had a piece of pastry bought from the county city. It had been ordered long ago. When the Gu family saw that the courtyard was filled with food, their eyes were filled with surprise. Gu Dafeng sighed. In the past, if I got a small piece of meat, I would wake up laughing even in my dreams. Even if it was for the sake of sharing this meat every year, I could continue to work in the workshop. I didn't expect that the meat would be distributed this year. Just thinking about it makes my heart ache a little. Gu Yundong smiled. Even you think so, eldest aunt? If you can't bear to give up this job for a piece of meat, will others think the same? Gu Dafeng was stunned. She pointed at her. You're smart. Wasn't that so? How many families in this village were like her in the past? They had to be careful when they wanted to eat a piece of meat during the new year. There were not many bosses like Gu Yundong. After distributing the items, Gu Yundong planned to make a trip to the workshop. She had yet to tell everyone about the gathering. On the other hand, Gu Dajiang was quite curious about this annual party. He followed Gu Yundong to the workshop. Your annual party is quite interesting. How did you come up with it? Well, could Gu Yundong say that she did not think of this? She turned around and met Gu Dajiang's curious gaze. She could only swallow. Then, she said in all seriousness, Father, here it goes. We're all at the dining table when we discuss business. Your classmates often arrange to eat and talk together, so when it comes to socializing, eating and drinking are the most suitable. Everyone usually just works hard. I guess some people don't know each other. Why don't we give them a chance to relax and eat together, right? Gu Dajiang fell into deep thought. Indeed, many things were easy to say at the dining table. Conflicts quickly dissipated over a few drinks. Those who had common topics might become closer after chatting. Coupled with the good food and drinks, everyone felt a greater sense of belonging to the workshop. She was trying to buy people's hearts. His daughter was amazing. Gu Yundong did not know that he was thinking so much. As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the entrance of the workshop not long after. As she had already told everyone that they would stop working at the 26th this year, there were not many fruits and sugarcane left in the workshop. He estimated that they could stop work at noon. When Gu Yundong and his father came in, everyone stood up. Master, boss, why are you here? Someone's eyes lit up. Today was the last day. Were they going to give out New Year goods? But when he saw that there was no cart behind Gu Yundong carrying things over, he was immediately disappointed. Perhaps there were too many people this year. However, it didn't matter. It was understandable. After all, the New Year goods distributed by the Gu family last year were good stuff. If everyone was given a piece this year, it would cost a lot of money. Gu Yundong waved her hand and asked the people who were temporarily free to come over first. She waited until they were close before she spoke. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 945. They are all jealous. There shouldn't be much to do, right? I think it should be done after noon. How about this? After everyone is done, let's clean up the workshop, okay? Alright, someone immediately replied loudly. Even if boss doesn't say it, well, clean everything up before going back. Boss, don't worry. In fact, they still wanted to work. They had heard that there was an additional salary these few days. It was just like Zhuangzi and Chen Jinkai in the county cities Gus. During the new year, the shop could not be closed. After all, they sold sweets and other things. Business was good during the new year, so the two of them would take turns to run the shop. However, their salary for the few days was also calculated separately. It was much more than usual. Many people in the workshop were envious. Unfortunately, the workshop was on holiday. Gu Yundong saw that everyone had different expressions and more or less knew what they were thinking. She immediately found it funny and continued, after cleaning up, send some people out and borrow 10 tables from each family. I want those big tables that can seat more than 10 people. Everyone was surprised. Boss, why do you need so many tables? For the gathering tonight, of course. Gu Yundong smiled. Don't go back for dinner tonight. Let's have a meal together and chat. How about that? Wow, the boss is treating us to a meal. Cheers instantly erupted in the workshop. That's great. I want to eat lunch. I'll save it for dinner. Ha 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 ha, forget it. With your stomach, no matter how much you eat for lunch, you can still swallow a cow at night. Boss, I'm drooling now. We definitely won't leave. After cleaning the workshop, we'll borrow tables and stools. I guarantee that everyone will be able to sit down. Gu Yundong could feel everyone's excitement. Even Gu Dajiang was infected by this enthusiasm. He could not help but say, there will be New Year presents to be delivered tonight. Gu Yundong turned to look at her father. Gu Dajiang immediately touched his nose and coughed lightly. Well, I couldn't help it. I just wanted to make everyone happier. As expected, as soon as he said that, the workshop exploded. Some young men couldn't help but jump up. I've been looking forward to the New Year presents for a year. Gu Yundong was speechless. She had not seen them so happy when they were given the wages. She shook her head, thinking that there was still a surprise tonight. She hoped that they would not be too excited. After saying that, Gu Yundong left with Gu Dajiang. As soon as they left, the workshop was instantly filled with joy. Everyone gathered together and discussed. Helpless, Tongan walked out and said, "Aren't you going to work? The earlier you finish your work, the earlier you can eat dinner." Everyone instantly dispersed. Now, they were full of energy, and even their efficiency was almost twice as fast as before. Before noon, the work in the workshop was done. Everyone started to clean up happily. The men took buckets to the river and fetched water. They went back and forth a few times, washing the entire workshop until it was spotless. Even the floor was clean. Seeing how happy they were, some villagers couldn't help but pull them back and ask. When the villagers found out that they were to have a dinner gathering tonight, the villagers couldn't be more jealous. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 946. They are all here this time. The news of the Gu family's workshop not only distributing New Year goods but also holding a party spread. Many people had tears in their eyes as they stuck their heads out of the workshop. They really wanted to follow and take a look. When the cleaning of the workshop was almost done, everyone saw the people in the workshop happily moving tables and chairs. Their arrogant appearance made people grit their teeth in envy. Yundong hired a few women from the village to help cook a delicious meal. The fish, rice, and noodles were brought to the kitchen of the Gu family's workshop without hesitation. This included Madame Zhou and her daughter-in-law. Coincidentally, Chen Liang's family could eat here. As Chen Liang was the village chief, Yundong had to invite him. In addition, Chen Jinkai and Chen Jinbao were both working in her own workshop, and Niu Dan had been invited over by Yunshu long ago. As such, there were only Madame Zhou and 2 more people left in the Chen family. They might as well all come over. Lan Huar was also invited over. As for the others, they were not allowed to bring their families. It was mainly because at this moment, there were really not just 1 or 2 families, but 1 or 2 groups. If they were allowed to bring their families, almost the entire village would have to come. Not only that, but there were also long-term workers from the neighboring villages. The workshop could not entertain them. Dinner started around 4 o'clock. It was dark early in winter, and there were no electric lamps. Even if many oil lamps were lit, the effect was not very good. When it was early in the afternoon, the villagers of Yongfu village were surprised to find another group of people coming from the village entrance. Looking closely, wasn't it Zhao Zhu and his son? Since Yundong was holding an annual party, everyone here naturally had to be present. Although Zhao Zhu and the Shi couple were not in the workshop, they helped her manage the orchard. They were invited along with the helpers they found. There were more than 10 of them in total. Because they had received the news in advance, all of them were in high spirits and could not wait. They had never heard of such an event, but there was a feast that they didn't have to pay for. Who wouldn't be willing to come? They didn't know that there would be New Year presents. In any case, they had to come if there was food. Yundong felt that since everyone was working for the Gu family, they could take this opportunity to get to know each other and prevent conflicts from arising among themselves. That would be troublesome. Later, Zhuangzi and the others returned on the ox cart. Not only them, but also Jiang Bao and the old doctor. Xiao Qingyuan was not around, so Yundong had to help take care of his people, right? As for the shop assistants and shopkeepers in the prefectural city, they were too far away and there was nothing she could do. However, Yundong had prepared large red packets for these people and would distribute them after the new year. The people in the village watched as they went to the Gu family workshop in waves. They were already so envious that they lost their temper. In any case, many people were surrounding the workshop and trying their best to look inside, especially some children. Seeing that the tables were already set, Yundong got someone to bring a lot of melon seeds and peanuts for them to eat first. When a child ran in, she also gave him a handful. Seeing that there were more and more children, she was afraid that they would bump into something, so she simply picked up a cloth bag and handed it to Yunshu and Yuanji, asking them to carry it and distribute the stuff to the children. This lively atmosphere was even more noisy than the New Year. Finally, the time for the annual party that everyone was looking forward to arrived. Everyone at the 15 tables was sitting upright. Before the dishes were served, Yundong walked to the front and began to speak. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 947, Yundong's speech. First of all, I want to thank everyone here for working diligently over the past year. Many things have happened. When the prefectural city opened for business, there was a shortage of stock. It was everyone who worked overtime to meet the demand. Manager Tong was assassinated and remained unconscious for a long time. It was also everyone who did their job in an orderly manner. Yundong did not expect that one day, she would stand in front of everybody and say such emotional words like a leader. However, these people had really moved her. They were hardworking, simple, passionate, and motivated. They were really a very cute group of people. Hence, whether it was the annual party or feast, she felt that they deserved it. Whether it's the Gu family's workshop or the orchard, it's the result of everyone's joint efforts. In the past year, the workshop has increased from 50 to 100 people, the orchard has increased from 80 acres to 180 acres, and the shop has been opened from the county city to the prefectural city. All of this couldn't have been done without everyone present. You have all contributed. You're very good. Someone couldn't help but whimper. Boss, don't say that. You've helped us even more. You gave us such a high salary. If we don't work hard, will we still be human? That's right, boss. If it weren't for you, my house would still be a straw hut. I wouldn't even have a warm bed. That's right. If I didn't work at the Gu family's workshop, I wouldn't have been able to get a wife. Yes, yes, yes. Since I'm working here, my daughter's dowry has been gathered. Boss Gu was too good. In the past, when they worked outside, no one had affirmed their work like this. Not to mention thanking them, it was already good enough if they were paid in time. At this moment, they were actually thanked by their boss. They felt as if they had eaten honey. Gu Dajiang looked at his daughter with incomparable pride. He felt warm inside. Yundong was too outstanding. Gu Yundong was stunned to see them crying. Then, she laughed. All right, I won't say anything else. I know that everyone is waiting for a feast. Serve the dishes. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a burst of cheers. Immediately after, someone brought the food over. In the countryside, the dishes were all served in big pots and bowls. The Gu family's feast was a real feast. Most of them were meat. As soon as the food was served, the workers pounced on it like wolves and tigers. Each of them picked up 2 pieces of meat, and the bottom was quickly revealed. On the other hand, Gu Yundong's table was much more refined. Gu Dajiang drank with Chen Liang. Both of them were slow-witted. They could drink for a long time after filling a glass. Bien Han's leg was still injured and he couldn't drink, so he chatted with him. Madame Yang and Gu Yunka were the happiest. They loved this kind of liveliness the most. When they were almost done eating and there were only 2 or 3 dishes left, Gu Yundong stood up and walked forward. Everyone's stomachs were already full and their movements had slowed down. Hence, most of them saw Gu Yundong's actions and found it strange. Is it time to deliver the New Year goods? I saw it just now. 2 large carts were pushed in. Unfortunately, there was a cloth covering it, so I couldn't see what was inside. In any case, there's definitely meat. Manager Tong brought back a lot of pork this morning. I heard that there was meat in cloth last year. There are so many people this year. I wonder if there are more. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 948, Surprise at the Annual Party. Gu Yundong coughed lightly and the buzzing below immediately stopped. Gu Yundong said, I know. Everyone is looking forward to the New Year presents. They will definitely be distributed this year. However, before they are distributed, there will be a surprise for everyone. Surprise? Everyone's eyes widened. Some of the bolder ones who had drunk a little hurriedly stood up and asked, Boss Gu, what surprise? Is there more food tomorrow after today? Ha ha ha, you wish, someone couldn't help but scold. Gu Yundong also smiled. It's not good to have fish and meat every day. The surprise I'm talking about is this. As she spoke, she glanced at Tong Shuitao, who immediately handed over a wooden box. Everyone looked confused. A wooden box? Could it be that there was something good inside? However, the wooden box did not look big or heavy. What was inside? While everyone was guessing, Gu Yundong had already spoken. There are notes inside. There are words written inside. Now, it's up to your luck. Whoever draws the note with the first, second, and third prizes will be rewarded. Wow, there was an uproar below. A lucky draw? There was actually a lucky draw? This was really a surprise, a huge surprise. Alright, now Shui Tao will carry the box to every table. You just have to sit in your seats. When the time comes, you just have to reach in and pull out a note. There are a total of 15 rewards this time. 2 for the first prize, 5 for the second prize, and 8 for the third prize. With that, Tong Shuitao carried the wooden box to the first table. The first person was stunned for a moment until someone pushed him. He suddenly came back to his senses and quickly reached in to take out a note. The second person rubbed his hands, closed his eyes, and muttered, "Bless me for winning, winning, winning." Then, with an expression that said he was ready to die, he reached his hand in. The people behind also looked like they were praying to God and Buddha, hoping that they would win. Even if they couldn't win the first prize, they could at least win the second or third prizes. Everyone drew a note, but no one opened it first. It was as if they would be lucky if they did it late. Even when Tong Shuitao returned to Gu Yundong's side, the people below did not stop buzzing. Take a look at yours and see if you won any prizes. Why don't you look at yours? Yours first, then mine. Come on. Gu Yundong waited for a long time but did not see these people open the note. She immediately held her forehead. It's getting late. Are you sure you want to open the note until tomorrow? If that's the case, I'll leave. No, well look. Well look right away. The people below finally couldn't hold it in anymore and quickly opened the note to read. Then, voices sounded one after another. Hey, let me see. What are these words? I don't know him either. Ask Zhuangzi. He can read. Someone took the note to Zhuangzi, who was nearby. Zhuangzi narrowed his eyes and glanced at the expectant person. He sighed and said, "These words are thank you for participating." That person was a little confused. What does it mean? It means you didn't win the lottery. Ah, the person immediately wailed and slapped his hands hard. Bad hands. Why can't you even get the third prize? Gu Yundong saw that many people couldn't read and did not know what it meant. She immediately explained, "It's okay if you don't know the words on the paper. Count them. If it's 4 words, you don't win the lottery. If it's 2 words, you do. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 949, What's the Prize? As soon as Gu Yundong finished speaking, someone jumped up. Ah, I won. I won. Although he couldn't read, he knew how to count. Immediately after, voices rose and fell in the crowd. I got it too. Ha ha ha, I got it too. When most people saw the words in their hands, they sighed. Then, they shifted their gazes and looked enviously at the people who had won the lottery. Gu Yundong said, "Winners, please come up first." A few people in the crowd walked forward excitedly. There were 15 people. 4 were women, and the rest were all men. After all, the percentage of male workers was relatively large. They held the notes tightly in their hands. Their faces were slightly red from excitement, and their eyes were strangely bright. They handed the notes to Tongan and asked him to tell them the prize they had won. After all, they could not read. It just so happened that a woman and a man won the first prize. The woman was from the neighboring village. It was said that her family was in trouble, and her 4 children were crying for food. The oldest was only 11 years old. The man in the family was not in good health, so he could only do some simple work. Later on, this woman entered the Gu family's workshop and got paid. Only then did her family's life gradually improve. She did not expect her luck to be so good that she won the first prize. Someone said softly, "Mrs. Sun's bitter life has finally come to an end. Ever since she entered the Gu family's workshop, her luck has also come." Gu Yundong thought that Mrs. Sun would definitely like this prize. As for the other first prize winner, he was from Yongfu village. His family background was alright. The second prize was given to a woman and 4 men. One of them was Zhao Zhu, and another 2 were from the neighboring villages. The remaining man and woman were from Yongfu village. The remaining 2 women and 6 men won the third prizes. Some were from Yongfu village and some were from the neighboring villages. These 15 people were all very excited. Even someone as steady as Zhao Zhu clenched his fists tightly. Gu Yundong got someone to bring everything up. Next, let me tell you what the prizes are. She lifted the cloth on the first pile, revealing what lay beneath. This is the third prize. There's not much. I hope you like it. Everyone leaned forward and saw boxes on the ground. Inside were cinnamon, red dates, peanuts, melon seeds, and other snacks. Everyone could not help but widen their eyes. This was quite a lot. This was enough to entertain guests for the new year. Moreover, there were many things that they could not bear to buy during the Lunar New Year. Not to mention, there were 2 pots of wine. Judging from the logo, this wine seemed to be brewed by the Tao family in the county city. It was not that kind of cheap wine. Anyway, it was completely different from what they were drinking now. They had never even touched it. Many people present could not help but swallow their saliva. The 8 people who won the prizes were overjoyed and looked at the gift boxes eagerly. This box looked good too. Gu Yundong distributed the items one by one. The 8 of them thanked her profusely. When they received the food boxes, they walked back to their original positions in satisfaction. The people at the same table immediately surrounded someone. They wanted to reach out to eat the things in the gift box, but he slapped them away. What are you doing? This is what I have to bring back. I still have to show it to my wife. Don't think about eating it, and don't mess it up. Look at how stingy you are. The person beside him snorted and continued to look ahead. There were so many delicious food for the third prize. He wondered what the second and first prizes were. He was so looking forward to it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know at report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 950, Second prize. The people sitting below were all very curious and urged him. Gu Yundong did not keep them in suspense. She got someone to remove the cloth on the second pile. Soon, many boxes were revealed below. Everyone was speechless. Why were they all in boxes? Could it be that they were also peanuts, red dates, or something, but there were more portions? This is the second prize. 1 set of cutlery for each person. Although it was called a set, it was actually filled to the brim with a huge box. There were at least 4 sets of bowls, plates, chopsticks, spoons, and cups. There was also a small casserole and a kettle. There were also 2 pots of wine beside it. Wow, the people below exclaimed, their eyes wide open. There were so many pots and pans, and they were brand new and shiny. Most of the people here still had holes in their bowls. Sometimes, they would cut their lips when eating porridge. But even so, they could not bear to throw the bowls away or change them. At this moment, the boss actually offered a whole set. Wasn't this too much? These things were not cheap at all. The men and women who had won the second prize were so excited that their cheeks turned red. They stared at the boxes. Gu Yundong said, "These things are a little heavy. If it's not easy for you to carry them, you can hire someone to help you bring them back after the annual party. It's easy to carry. We're very strong. We're not afraid of heavy lifting," someone immediately replied. The others couldn't help but laugh, but they all nodded, even the woman. What a joke. They could not wait to pounce on the pile of cutlery and touch it properly. How could they wait until the end of the annual party? They could not wait to carry it home and hide it now so that others would not covet their prizes. The others looked like they wanted to split it up on the spot. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She did not care anymore and asked them to go forward and get one for themselves. These things were quite heavy. In addition, the wooden box containing the cutlery was not light either. If she distributed them one by one, she would probably die of exhaustion. However, the people who won the prize were not afraid of getting tired at all. They went forward and squatted on the ground. They carefully touched it first and then began to whisper to each other, "This bowl is really flat. It's smooth to the touch. It's not rough at all. If I take it back, I won't even be able to bear to use it. Look at these chopsticks. There are even carvings on the top. It's not cheap. So much. It's not cheap at all." The bowls that Gu Yundong bought were all clay bowls that were suitable for them. She had originally considered porcelain bowls, but she was afraid that if they were given out, no one would use them and they would only be locked up. That would be meaningless. However, even if they were just clay bowls, the quality was very good. "Hey, are you done? If you've seen enough, come down quickly. We're still waiting for the first prize. Don't delay others." The people below couldn't take it anymore. These second prize winners were simply too detestable. Not only did they receive the award, but they also had to show off in front of the audience. They even pointed their butts at the audience. The audience simply wanted to rush up and beat them to death. Only then did they cough lightly and stop discussing. They quickly picked up their boxes. But it was really quite heavy. Therefore, other than the few men who carried it down one by one, the woman was in a difficult position. In the end, it was Tong Shuitao who helped her carry it to her own seat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 951, First Prize. After receiving the second prize, only the two people who had drawn the first prize were left. The two of them became inexplicably nervous. It was such a cold day, but their palms were drenched in sweat. Gu Yundong asked someone to remove the last piece of cloth. Everyone felt that the last pile was especially big. They thought that there would definitely be a lot of prizes. As expected, as soon as the cloth was lifted, everyone's eyes widened. This time, the prize wasn't contained in a box because it really couldn't fit in. Gu Yundong said, "This is the first prize. There's a 10-caddy quilt, a mattress, a mat, a tent, and a pillow. Each person has 2 sets of these. There are also 2 pots of wine and a bag of tea leaves." Wow! A loud exclamation suddenly erupted from below. Everyone's eyes widened. A 10-caddy quilt? There were also other things, and there were actually 2 sets. They were so jealous that their eyes turned red. They looked at the 2 people who had won the first prize and wished they could swap places with them. Compared to the third and second prizes, this first prize was really generous. For example, most of the quilts in their families were only 5 caddies. At most, they were only 8 caddies. 10 caddies. It looked big and brand new. It would definitely be very warm if it covered them. In such weather, it was no different from sending charcoal in the snow. They wanted it, very much. Many people subconsciously reached out their hands. Some even went up directly. If Gu Yundong had not been standing there, they would have touched the prize. These things were not cheap. Not to mention the quilt, even the mattress was thicker than the hard blanket they had used for a few years. In that case, they could be counted as 4 quilts. Jealousy. Jealousy had changed them beyond recognition. Bad hands, bad hands. Why didn't they get the first prize? Why? Mrs. Sun, who had won the first prize, had reddened eyes and almost cried. It was true. What a thick quilt that contained 10 caddies of cotton. Her family was already in a difficult situation. There were only 2 thin blankets at home, one for her and her husband and one for the children. In the winter, they could only cover all their clothes with them, but even so, they would often wake up in the middle of the night from the cold. Originally, when she entered the Gu family workshop this year, she finally had some money saved. She planned to buy some cotton after her salary was paid, so that she could stuff the blanket and make it thicker. Because of this, she did not even buy any New Year goods. She did not expect her luck to be so good that she directly drew 2 quilts. That was great. With 2 such thick quilts, her husband and she could have one and her children could have the other. Finally, the family could sleep soundly. Mrs. Sun could no longer hold back her tears. Gu Yundong was stunned for a moment. What's wrong, Mrs. Sun? Don't you like the quilts? If you don't like them, you can ask someone else if they're willing to exchange them with you, or, no, I like them very much. Thank you. Thank you, boss. Mrs. Sun hurriedly said, I'm just too happy. The people below laughed. Boss, your prize is in her heart. That's right. Boss, you know us too well. Only then did Gu Yundong feel relieved. She said to Mrs. Sun, there are a lot of things, and they're very heavy. Can I get someone to carry them back for you later? Yes, thank you. Mrs. Sun was so happy that she could not say anything. Not only him, but the other man who had also won the first prize was also very excited. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 952, New Year's goods for everyone. He didn't lack quilts, but he really didn't have one that weighed 10 caddies. These quilts were especially beautiful. Coincidentally, his daughter was about to get married. This quilt would be a great honor for her as a dowry, and the color was festive. And that wine and tea leaves were all good things. What should he do? He could not bear to take them out to drink on his daughter's wedding day. However, he quickly said to Gu Yundong, Boss, thank you so much. Gu Yundong waved her hand. Since you both like them, I'm relieved. Leave the things here first. When you get back, you can get someone to help carry them back. Sure thing. The two of them did not touch it. After all, they could not bear to. Their hands were too rough. What if they broke it? However, when they returned to their seats, the people around them surrounded them. All of them were very enthusiastic and said that they wanted to help carry the prizes home. In fact, they wanted to take a closer look and touch the prizes. There was a lot of noise below. They were too happy about winning the prize. Whether it was the first, second, or third prizes, they were all envious. Initially, Gu Yundong had thought that the first prize could be a cow or a donkey. After all, many companies in the modern era had cars for annual party prizes. Later on, she thought about it and decided to forget it. Hers was just a small workshop, and it was the first annual party. What would she do in the future if she were to give away cows and donkeys now? Therefore, after pondering for a while, she decided to give them something practical. Judging from their reactions, they should be very satisfied. Alright, the lottery is over. Next, everyone will have a share of the New Year goods. As soon as Gu Yundong spoke, the people below instantly fell silent. As soon as they heard about the New Year goods, everyone immediately sat up straight. After all, these were really in their hands and had nothing to do with others, so there was no need to be envious. Therefore, getting the New Year goods was more important. Soon, Tong An and Tong Ping pushed the cart over. It was filled with meat, and everyone's eyes lit up instantly. Even though they had just finished eating a big meal, they could not help but swallow hard. Several ways to cook pork flashed across their minds. 2 caddies of meat for each person. Everyone, don't be anxious. Everyone has a share. Gu Yundong led the Gu family in pieces of pork. Everyone was distributed. Even the 2 little fellows, Yunshu and Yunka, were helping excitedly. They swung their legs upside down and handed the meat to the villagers. After the meat was distributed, the cloth was given away. White sugar followed, and the last was pastries. There were a total of 4 items, and everyone's hands were filled with them. Everyone was very excited and discussed animatedly. They did not have to buy those things during the new year and saved a lot of money. Gu Yundong waited for them to finish their discussion before continuing. The New Year's goods have been distributed. Finally, it's this month's salary. Tong Shuitao carried up another basket. It was really because most people were given copper coins, so she had no choice but to use the basket. Gu Yundong took a brush and paper and an account book. She sat behind a table and said to everyone, "Now, come up one by one." You can go back after receiving the salary. It's been hard on everyone this year. Continue to work hard next year and strive to earn more money. Okay. The voices below were exceptionally loud, and everyone was very excited. Gu Yundong nodded in satisfaction and opened the account book. Come up when you hear your name. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 953, More Surprise? Gu Yundong quickly recited, Su Huar. Here. Gu Yundong had an impression of her. Last year, she was also there when the short-term workers received the New Year's goods. When they arrived, Gu Yundong took the string of copper coins from Tong Shui Tao and handed it to her. Su Huar bowed. Thank you, boss. Then, she took the copper coins and walked to the side. Gu Yundong ticked her name. Then, she started to call the second person. Just as she was handing out copper coins to the second person, Su Huar, who was beside her, suddenly exclaimed, Boss, you gave an extra 100 copper coins. Everyone looked over in unison, but Gu Yundong was not surprised. It's the new year. Take these 100 copper coins as a red packet for everyone. Everyone has it. You can buy New Year goods with it. 100 copper coins was not much. It could be considered the year-end bonus. Everyone had worked hard for an entire year. On the last day, they still had to celebrate. When the people behind heard this, they were overjoyed. They did not expect that when the workshop closed for the holiday, there would be a meal gathering, a lucky draw, and a New Year's gift. In the end, there was even a red packet. The surprises came one after another, making them a little dizzy and unable to find the north. These things were common to modern companies, but in this era, they were unique. But to Gu Yundong, these extra rewards did not cost much. In total, it was about 50 to 60 taels. However, this would make everyone happy. In the future, they would be more loyal to the Gu family and have a greater sense of belonging to the Gu family. Moreover, they would be able to publicize it for free. This money was very worth it. The pay was distributed one by one. Everyone could not help but count it again and again. It was not that they did not trust Gu Yundong and were afraid that they would be paid less. They just could not resist the desire to count the money, especially when they had an extra 100 copper coins. They felt so good. The Zheng couple, the Shi couple, Zhao Zhu, and the other managers were the last to be paid. Their salaries were high, so they were directly given silver. Everyone was a little envious when they saw this. They thought that if they worked harder, they would be able to touch silver when they became managers in the future. However, none of these people left after receiving the money. Gu Yundong found it strange. Then, she saw that everyone was busy. The tables were cleared, the stools were cleared, and the women were tidying up the pots and pans and cleaning the ground. Gu Yundong immediately smiled. Whether it was New Year goods or red packets, they were indeed worth it. In just a short while, the workshop returned to its original state. It was clean. The tables and chairs had all been returned. Everyone stood in front of Gu Yundong again with the New Year goods in their hands. They waved at Gu Yundong. Boss, we wish you a happy New Year in advance. Well, take our leave first. Gu Yundong waved her hand. Happy New Year to you too. See you next year. Only then did everyone turn around and leave. The weather outside was very cold and dark, but the people who came out of the workshop were all overjoyed and warm. The families of the people from the neighboring villages who lived further away came to pick them up. Mrs. Sun's husband was also here. Although he was not in good health, it was fine for him to go out. At this moment, he saw Mrs. Sun carrying a large pile of things in her hand. There were actually quilts. Her husband's face was filled with shock as he hurriedly went up to her. Mrs. Sun was very happy to see him. She said with a face full of joy, "Husband, we drew the lottery today. I won the first prize. Look, there are 2 big quilts and beddings, and these, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 954, New Year Misses. Sun's husband was stunned. He subconsciously took a quilt in it, unable to come back to his senses. The people beside her had already started talking at once. Your wife is lucky. You don't know that there were only 2 people who won this prize. Your wife was one of them. This quilt weighs 5 kilograms. Look, it's so thick. It's thick, it's indeed thick. He nodded blankly. Mrs. Sun raised the New Year goods again. These were also given by the boss. We don't have to buy them for the new year. Someone at the side shouted, let's go back first. It's already so late. Let's not stand here anymore. Let's go. Yundong gave a few lanterns to the people living in the neighboring villages and asked them to go back together in case they could not see the road. However, it did not matter to them whether they had lanterns or not. The road was so wide that they could walk as they pleased. It was even more convenient for those from the local village. Many people were still waiting outside. Soon, the lively crowd dispersed. Yundong led his parents and siblings back to the Gu house. The door of the workshop was closed. Next, they just had to prepare for the new year in peace. When they reached home, Yundong took out a few red packets and gave one to the Tong family, the Lu family, and Shui Rong. Everyone thanked her and happily accepted it. When Yundong returned to her room, she wrote a letter to Xiao Qingyuan and told him in detail about today's annual party. Now that they could not see each other, they could only contact each other through letters. Unfortunately, he couldn't be at home during the new year. She recalled that last year, Xiao Qingyuan was alone at home. Later, he was called over by Yun Shu to set off firecrackers and have New Year's Eve dinner with the Gu family. This year, only Ah Go and the auntie who cooked were in the Xiao family. Yundong also gave them red packets on behalf of Xiao Qingyuan. The next day, the incident at the Gu family workshop's annual party swept through Yongfu village and the neighboring villages like a violent wind. Everyone was envious when they heard that everyone had New Year's goods and a few big awards. Thus, a new round of inquiring about whether the workshop was recruiting people began again. Unfortunately, Yundong was not recruiting for the time being. Even if she wanted to recruit, she had to expand the workshop first. In the following days, the Gu family began to prepare for the new year. They cleaned the house, made tofu, killed chickens and fish, and made dumplings. Everything was warm. On New Year's Eve, the family gathered together with smiles on their faces. Yundong recalled last year. At that time, her father had not been found, and she did not know where eldest Aunt Gu was. Yuanji was suffering in old Gus' house. Now, apart from Uncle Gu, her family was finally reunited. Yundong believed that they would be able to find younger uncle sooner or later. This was her first wish for the new year. The dinner was very sumptuous. After eating, everyone went to set off firecrackers. Since Xiao Qingyuan wasn't around, Gu Dajiang was the one who lit the firecrackers. Yundong held the little girl in her arms and listened to the crackling sounds. She looked at Yun Shu and Yuanji jumping around and could not help but smile. After the firecrackers were released, Yun Shu and Yuanji ran in to move the fireworks out. The two of them were bold enough to light the fireworks themselves. The fireworks rushed into the sky with a bang and exploded. The people in the village looked up one after another. The children's voices were especially cheerful. The crowing of chickens and barking of dogs made the night in Yongfu village seem like a busy city. After the fireworks ended, fireworks exploded in the sky on the other side. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 955. Yundong is also a junior who is doted on. The Gu family could not help but turn their heads and look in the direction of the fireworks. Yunshu's eyes lit up. She jumped and said, "It's Niu Don house. It must be his house that set off the fireworks." Yundong smiled and nodded. It was indeed in the direction of Chen Liang's house. It seemed that the Chen family had earned a lot of money this year and was extravagant. After New Year's Eve, it would be New Year's Day the next day. It was different from last year. Last year, Yundong could only give out red packets. The only red packet that was given to her came from Xiao Qingyuan. She had placed it in a box and kept it in the space. This year, when Yundong woke up, she received red packets from her parents, aunt and father. Looking at the red packets in front of her, Yundong's eyes burned. This was the first time in many years that she had received a red packet from her family and elders. Yundong felt that her life was complete. She put away the complicated and sour feeling in her heart and reached out to take them. Thank you, father and mother. Thank you, eldest aunt and uncle. Happy New Year. Gu Dajiang patted her head. Happy New Year. I hope you'll be healthy and safe in the new year. Be happy every day. As he spoke, he felt a little reluctant. Gu Dajiang had a feeling that this year might be Yundong's last year receiving red packets as an unmarried girl. Next year, she might even have to bring Xiao Qingyuan along. Thinking about it, he started to dislike Xiao Qingyuan again. Fortunately, Xiao Qingyuan wasn't present this year. Otherwise, he would definitely receive Gu Dajiang's angry glare. Immediately after, Gu Dajiang gave a few more red packets to the younger ones. This time, it was not Gu Yundong's turn to give away red packets. She was also a junior now who had parents, aunts, and uncles to dote on her. After Yunshu, Yunka, and the other children received the red packets, they ran out to play with their friends. Not long after, they brought a group of children in to pay New Year greetings. The Gu family had prepared a lot of sweets, sunflower seeds, and snacks. When the children were here, none of them returned empty-handed. Their clothes and pockets were filled. On the second day of the Lunar New Year, most of the villagers started to visit their relatives. The relatives of the Gu family were all at home, so there was no need to travel around. However, there were many people who came to visit. The Gu family stayed at home to entertain the guests. On the third day of the Lunar New Year, the whole family went up the mountain to visit Bien Mulan. It was Bien Han's first time back. It was inconvenient for him in a wheelchair. It was not easy to walk up the mountain, so he could only be carried by a few people. When he saw Bien Mulan's tombstone, he couldn't help but cry. Everyone present felt terrible. They were living a good life now, but Bien Mulan couldn't enjoy it. After crying for a while, the Bien family calmed down a little and went down the mountain. On the fourth day of the Lunar New Year, Gu Yundong and his family went to Qin Wenzhang's house to visit him. On the fifth day of the Lunar New Year, Gu Yundong went to the Lu residence again. Lu Wei was not around and went out to play. However, Lu Yi was at home. He had a good relationship with Yun Shu and Yuanji and insisted that they stay for the night. On the sixth and seventh day of the new year, Gu Yundong went to take a look at other people's houses. On the eighth day of the new year, the workshop reopened and all the workers returned. Gu Yundong looked at their flushed faces. This meant that they all celebrated the new year in happiness. Sure enough, after the workshop started, everyone worked even harder. However, Xiao Qingyuan hadn't returned yet. He had sent a few letters back, saying that everything was going smoothly. Although Gu Yundong was looking forward to his return, she was also very busy. After all, her father would be taking the imperial examination at the beginning of next month. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 956, 10 Thin Clothes. Gu Yundong was still a little excited about the imperial examination. Not only her, but everyone in the Gu family was on high alert, especially Gu Dafeng. As Gu Dajiang's sister, she knew best about his helplessness when he wanted to study as a kid. She accompanied him through the experience of being chosen by the old elementary scholar and recognized by the old patriarch. Later on, the old patriarch and the old elementary scholar passed away one after another. Originally, he was just close to taking the preparation scholar exam, but his rights were directly stripped. In the end, he put down his books and worked in the fields all day. Gu Dafeng had accompanied him all this way. At that time, he saw his younger brother, who was clearly talented, good at studying, and motivated, but because of Madame Zhao's suppression, old Gus inaction, and the patriarch's personal grudge, he cut off his chance to study. This made Gu Dafeng hate the Gu family very much. She wanted to protect Gu Dajiang, but it was too difficult. She was still young at that time. Dealing with the 3 mountains above her was no different from courting death. Therefore, now that Gu Dajiang could participate in the imperial examination, the joy in Gu Dafeng's heart could not be described with words. She had even cried behind someone's back. Gu Yundong knew that there was no need to worry about endorsement and recognition. With Qin Wenzheng's help, what she needed to think about now was how to let her father perform normally in the examination hall and strive to pass in one go. The county exam was in February. There were 5 subjects, and each one was only for a day. It was still bearable. After all, he did not have to stay in a narrow examination shed and endure the consequences of his back aching and legs weakening. However, the weather in February was still very cold, so it was still very important to keep warm. It was just that she had heard that when entering the examination hall, hats were not allowed to be double-layered. The leather jacket had to be stripped of its skin, and the felt clothes were removed from the inside. The clothes and robes were all single-layered, the socks were made of single-layered felt, and the shoes were made of thin soles. Just thinking about these rules made Gu Yundong feel cold. She touched her chin and went to look for Gu Dafeng. She said, "Eldest aunt, I think we have to prepare at least 10 pieces of single clothes for father. Otherwise, he'll shiver from the cold." Gu Yundong's embroidery skills were still not good. After all, this was Gu Dajiang's clothes. It was not good for her to ask Shinsidian to make it, so she simply looked for eldest aunt. Gu Dajiang happened to walk over. When he heard that, he looked at himself. Single clothes, 10 pieces. Well, Yundong, the weather is already getting warmer next month, so there's no need for so many, he said. If I put all 10 clothes on, I'm afraid I won't even be able to straighten my hand. How can I write? Gu Yundong waved her hand. It's okay. Make the clothes inside smaller and the clothes outside bigger. But that's still uncomfortable. Gu Yundong turned around and said solemnly, "Father, it's better than catching a cold. At least wear it when you go in. If it does affect your performance while you're holding the brush, then take it off." His daughter was so concerned about him. It was as if he would hurt her heart if he rejected her again. Gu Dajiang nodded. All right. Gu Yundong was satisfied. He thought for a while and suddenly slapped his forehead. I almost forgot. Forgot what? Gu Dafeng asked. Father, each of you has a test tent, right? Moreover, you have to draw lots to determine the location of the test tent? Gu Dajiang had already asked around. That's indeed the case. What's wrong? I'm worried that you won't get a good spot. Gu Yundong frowned. Father, what if you get a spot next to the toilet? Well, what could he do? Acknowledge his bad luck? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 957, Yundong is right. Gu Dajiang was already mentally prepared, so he didn't think much of it. On the other hand, Gu Dafeng became nervous. Then what should we do? If you draw a spot beside the toilet, won't you have to smell that disgusting smell for the entire day? How can you write? How can you think? How can you eat? Gu Yundong nodded and said in agreement, also, I heard that some candidates get nervous easily when they enter the examination hall. When they are nervous, their stomach hurts. When it hurts, they have to go to the toilet. If they come a few more times, my father will probably faint from the smell. That won't do, that won't do. Yundong, can you get someone to change your father's position? After saying that, Gu Dafeng asked worriedly, this shouldn't be considered bribing the examiner, right? It's just changing his position. It's not like he cheated. Gu Yundong shook her head. No, I heard that the examination is especially strict. Such private transactions can't be made at all. Otherwise, you'll be beheaded. Then what should we do? Gu Dafeng was anxious. It wasn't easy for your father to have the chance to take the imperial examination. How can he destroy it on the toilet? Gu Dajiang was speechless. Wait, are you guys mistaken? This is just a possibility, just a possibility. Why does it sound like you've already confirmed that it'll definitely sit in the test shed beside the toilet? Hey, there are so many people taking the exam. I really don't have to, father, you have to consider all possibilities, Gu Yundong said solemnly. Gu Dafeng nodded. Yundong is right. We can't hope for luck. What if you're unlucky? Yundong is right. Gu Dafeng continued to nod. So, father, we have to think of a way to solve this problem first. Yundong is right. Gu Dafeng nodded halfway and suddenly looked at her in surprise. You've thought of a way? Gu Yundong said in all seriousness, I do have a stupid but very effective method here. Tell me quickly. Gu Dafeng's eyes lit up. However, Gu Dajiang suddenly had a very bad feeling. Gu Yundong said, we have to let my father get used to this smell first. You mean? Gu Yundong looked at Gu Dajiang. Father, during this period of time, when you're reading and writing articles, move the table near the outhouse. When you're used to it and can smell nothing, you won't have anything to fear. You won't care where the examination hall is when you write articles. Gu Dajiang couldn't help but widen his eyes. Yundong, I'm your father, your biological father. What the hell is smelling nothing? You even create an idiom yourself, right? When Gu Dafeng heard this, she was a little hesitant. Was this method really fine? She looked at Gu Dajiang, who shook his head vigorously. No, definitely not. I probably wouldn't draw that spot at all. Gu Yundong said, Father, you said it's possible. What if? What if your luck is extremely bad? But Yundong, I'm actually not that weak. Think about it. I've suffered in the past. I can overcome such a small matter. There's no need to make so much effort. But Dad, for the past 6 months, you've mostly been reading and writing in a comfortable environment. Now that you've suddenly fallen into such a bad situation, the difference is too great, and it's easier for you to feel unbalanced. Gu Dajiang felt that all his years of studying had been in vain. He actually couldn't win against his daughter in a debate? Yundong, are you serious? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 958, dressed so festively. Gu Yundong nodded seriously. Very seriously. Seeing that things had developed to this point and there was no room for negotiation, Gu Dafeng suddenly felt like laughing. How did things end up in this direction? Gu Dajiang was pushed out by Gu Yundong to the toilet door. Gu Dajiang immediately covered his nose. Yundong, I'm your biological father. Look, you can't take it anymore and have to cover your nose. You'll have to face 5 exams in the future. Won't you break down? It's precisely because you're my biological father that I'm so considerate of you. Thank you, but no. Gu Dajiang wanted to leave, but Gu Yundong stood firmly behind him. Father, it's said that only through hardship can one rise above others. The imperial examination is a long and arduous path. This is just a little stench. You have to overcome it. Gu Dajiang was speechless. He didn't want his daughter anymore. He could not win against Gu Yundong. In short, no matter what reason he had, Gu Yundong could find something to refute. In the end, Father Tong and Shui Rong moved a table and chair to the toilet. Gu Dajiang sat there aggrievedly. The veins on his hand that was holding the brush throbbed, and he almost showed everyone how to break the brush with his bare hands. Gu Yundong was quite satisfied, but the others standing behind her were holding back their laughter. Gu Dafeng couldn't hold it in anymore. She quickly turned her head away, but her shoulders were heaving. Madame Yang and Yinka did not understand what was going on and also giggled. Yin Shu pulled Yuanzi's arm and took a few steps back. She said softly, Do we have to read and write like this for the preparation scholar exam? Bien Yuanji rubbed his head in confusion. I didn't hear the teacher say that. Gu Yunshu shrank her neck. My elder sister is too terrifying. The two little fellows still had lingering fears. They were already thinking about how to avoid this cruel method when they took the exam. However, Gu Yundong felt that she had solved a huge problem in her heart and began to think about other things. There was no need to worry about food. It was just a day of exams. He could still fill his stomach for more than half a day with some pastries and bread. Gu Yundong thought of everything she could think of and felt that she had missed nothing. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. In the next few days, she focused on preparing. By the end of the month, Gu Dajiang's 10 clothes were completed. Gu Yundong took it from eldest aunt Gu and compared it. It was not bad. The outermost piece was exceptionally wide, so it should not be too tight. Gu Yundong carried the pile of clothes to look for Gu Dajiang. However, just as she reached the courtyard, she bumped into him. Father, why do you smell so bad? Gu Yundong took a few steps back. Gu Dajiang's eyes suddenly turned sinister as he sneered at Gu Yundong. The latter suddenly reacted. Oh no, it seemed like she did it. She immediately turned around and ran away with her clothes. Gu Dajiang snorted and returned to his room to shower and change. After more than an hour, Gu Yundong came back quietly with his clothes. She originally thought that Gu Dajiang would not be around. Unexpectedly, when she arrived at the main house, she saw her father trying on a piece of clothing. Madame Yang was looking at him with glowing eyes, as if she liked him very much. Gu Yundong was surprised. Father, where did you get this outfit? Why are you dressed so festively? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 959. What does other people getting married have to do with you? Madame Yang was helping him tidy up his sleeves. She also looked very happy, not letting go of even the slightest wrinkle. Gu Dajiang glanced sideways at Gu Yundong and said, Jiang Bao and the Shi family's daughter are getting married. Don't tell me you've forgotten. Of course I didn't forget. Isn't it the day after tomorrow? Gu Yundong was suspicious. But what does her marriage have to do with you wearing new clothes? Gu Dajiang was smug. They invited me to be their witness. Witness? When did this happen? Why didn't she know? Seeing that her father's new clothes were prepared so neatly, he must have received the news long ago. Was he deliberately not telling her? Was he taking revenge on her for letting him stay near the toilet? He was already so old. How childish. Gu Yundong snorted softly, but she was still very surprised. However, what she did not know was that Jiang Bao's first consideration was Gu Yundong. Speaking of which, Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan were more or less matchmakers for him and Lan Huaner. If she hadn't hired Zhuangzi, if Boss Xiao hadn't hired Jiang Bao, the two of them wouldn't have known each other. Naturally, Zhuangzi wouldn't have introduced the girl to her. Therefore, to them, Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan were matchmakers, benefactors, and esteemed guests. However, Xiao Qingyuan was not around. Gu Yundong was not married after all. It was not appropriate for her to be a witness. Hence, after some thought, Jiang Bao thought of Gu Dajiang. This was Boss Gus's biological father and Boss Xiao's future father-in-law. He was also a scholar. It was said that he would be participating in the imperial examination soon. At that time, he would be the elementary scholar. Their witness was the elementary scholar. If word got out, wouldn't it be glorious? Hence, the Shi couple and the Jiang family came to invite Gu Dajiang. This was the first time Gu Dajiang was a witness. For some reason, he was a little excited. Hence, on the day of Jiang Bao and Lan Hua's wedding, he woke up early. After dressing up, he got Shui Rong to put on a carriage and went to the Jiang family village. As the witness, Gu Dajiang naturally had to go to the man's side. Gu Yundong brought the rest of the Gu family to the Shi residence. Gu Dafeng and his husband did not go. After all, they did not have much of a relationship with the newlywed couple. In addition, Bien Han's leg was inconvenient. There were too many people, and it was easy to get injured if they squeezed around. When the Shi family got married, the entire village became lively. In the past, Shi Dashan and his wife were timid, and Zhuangzi was a hooligan. Lan Hua was the only sensible and smart one in the family. However, no matter how smart she was, having such a family would also drag her down. Therefore, when families with slightly better conditions were looking for a wife, they would not consider Lan Hua. However, in less than a year, the Shi family had changed drastically. Lan Hua had married into a good family. She heard that Jiang Bao was going to the prefectural city soon. This time, most of the people in the village came to the Shi family's treat. When Gu Yundong entered, it was already bustling with noise and excitement. Many villagers came over to help. Some were cooking, some were carrying tables. Most of them knew Gu Yundong. When they saw her family coming, they raised their hands to greet her. Gu Yundong nodded and responded to them one by one. Then, she brought the children to see the bride. Lan Hua sat in her room. The Shi family had renovated the house. She had a separate room, and it was quite big. Hence, when Gu Yundong entered, there were already many people sitting in the room. However, there were a few familiar faces. They were ladies and women from the village, and some were complete strangers. They were probably relatives of the Shi family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 960, Gu Yundong adds makeup. When Lan Hua saw Gu Yundong, she quickly stood up. Gu Yundong quickly made her sit down. Sit properly. Don't mess up the wedding dress. I just brought a few children over to take a look. They all said they wanted to see the bride. As she spoke, she lowered her head and looked at Yunshu, Yunke, Yuanji, and Lu Hongqiao. The few of them stuck half their heads out from behind her. Their faces were a little red and they looked a little embarrassed. The bride is so beautiful. Young Lady Yunke was the sweetest. She took a few steps forward and raised her small head. Her eyes were shining as she watched. She could not bear to move. Lan Hua was embarrassed by her gaze. She quickly picked up the candy beside her and fed her one. Kiki looks good too. Come eat the wedding candy. Yes, it's delicious. Thank you, Sister Lan Hua. Lan Hua also distributed wedding candy to the other children, including Gu Yundong. The Shi family's conditions were better now, and they had a lot of sweets, but they couldn't give them away casually. After all, sweets were really expensive. The children took the candy and looked at the bride. They were immediately chased out by Gu Yundong. When I came over just now, I saw Niu Dan and Xinglu playing outside. You guys should hurry up and join them too. The few of them immediately dispersed and ran out of the door. Gu Yundong took out a red packet and handed it to Lan Hua. Take this. I wish you a happy marriage and a happy life with Jiang Bao. Then, she took out a silver hairpin to add makeup to her appearance. After that, Gu Yundong left the room with Madame Yang. As soon as she left, everyone in the room surrounded her and stared at the hairpin with burning eyes. Yundong is so generous. This hairpin doesn't look cheap. Let me see, let me see. Io, with this amount and this style, it must be no less than 3 taels of silver. Lan Hua, this is your dowry. You have to keep it well. That's right, that's right. Don't lose it. Otherwise, you'll cry to death and let boss Gu down. Lan Hua was originally very relaxed, but when they said that, she was immediately extremely nervous. For a moment, she did not know where to put the hairpin. Until a soft sneer sounded in the corner. You guys are really funny. Such a lousy hairpin is almost like a treasure. That Miss Gu is so rich, why didn't she give you a gold gift? I heard that those rich families offer a complete set of makeups for the bride. You guys can even brag about a hairpin. It's strange. As soon as she said this, the room fell silent. Everyone looked at the girl who spoke in unison and frowned. Lan Huar also frowned. Her personality was different from her parents, especially those who made her unhappy on her wedding day. She would not be polite. It's better than nothing. This person was a cousin of hers called He Shou. She was the same age as her. In the past, she looked down on her family and would poke fun at them from time to time. Later, Zhuangzi became a clerk in the county. The Shi family's days were getting better and better. This cousin of hers had other thoughts and wanted to marry Zhuangzi. Unfortunately, Zhuangzi was focused on his goal of becoming the shopkeeper. He did not even know who He Shou was. Moreover, Shi Dashan and his wife did not like He Shou. In the end, the matter was left unsettled. However, a few months ago, the He family found out that Zhuangzi had become the shopkeeper. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible.